Correct, yeah. No, I guess.
Their report is online. Yes. But they're introducing here.
Oh, I see. We're sticking on top of that.
Yeah.
There's no red light. It's hard to see because
Oh yeah, I forgot you like training.
Friends, I'm going to go ahead and get started with announcements so we can start right at 6. We have a pretty full agenda tonight. So for those watching tonight's meeting virtually, the meeting is available to live stream via the Park District website. All information about Park District meetings can be found at winpark.org under the Park District Info tab by selecting Board Meetings and Videos. Public comment is accepted in person. A link to the video and the audio will be posted immediately following this evening's meeting. To improve the sound while listening to the meeting, turn up the volume in your computer and turn up the volume on the website. The meeting packet for tonight's meeting is located on the website. For those attending tonight's meeting, the emergency exits from the room are behind you or out this door. To improve the quality of the sound, there's a boom microphone over here directed towards the commissioners. The microphone will pick up audience noise and side conversations, so kindly keep those to a minimum. And if it's difficult to hear, please feel free to move to the front row or move forward in the seats. This is a business meeting, not a sporting event, and we ask for your cooperation to maintain decorum. There's no clapping or booing, and please be considerate and refrain from interrupting board members and other speakers. We're a community coming together to discuss difficult issues in a civil and respectful fashion. Okay. Opening roll call. Calling to order the March 20th, 2025 meeting, regular board meeting. Shannon.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner James.
Remotely?
Commissioner Lusson is absent. Commissioner Rapp.
Present.
Commissioner Root.
Here.
Commissioner Tyson.
here.
Commissioner Kodo.
Here.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Do we need to approve Warren's participation remotely?
Commissioner James has made a request to participate remotely in tonight's meeting. It is requested due to a qualifying event in 4.26 of the Board Policy Manual. II, employment purposes. Commissioner James is currently online.
May I have a motion to approve Commissioner Warren James' request to participate remotely in today's board meeting as permitted under 4.26 of the Board Manual, remote attendance, and in accordance with the Illinois Open Meetings Act?
So moved.
Colleen Root, second.
Second.
Tyson, roll call vote.
Commissioner Rapp.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Commissioner Kodo.
Yes.
Commissioner James.
I don't think I can vote yet, but yes.
All right, perfect. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1.3 is public announcements. Shannon?
Okay. We want to remind everyone that if you see a deceased or ill bird along the shoreline, please do not directly pick it up. If it's on park property, please contact our office. If it's on private property, please follow the IDNR and Health Department guidance for removal. And if it's over 5 birds, contact IDNR's wildlife biologist to report. More information can be found on our website under news. Also, don't forget that beach and launch passes are currently on sale and spring registration is still open. Classes are starting soon, so you don't want to miss out. As we are gearing up for spring, please keep the dates open for upcoming events, including our doggy egg hunt on April 12th, the egg hunt on April 19th, and the Winnetka Park Foundation Round Robin Tennis Tournament on May 2nd. Enrollment is currently open. Lastly, Kemper Sports has recently hired Evan Davis to lead the course and grounds team at the Winnetka Golf Club. He's here tonight. Welcome, Evan. Do you, Miles or Evan, you want to come up and say something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Into the microphone?
Yes, please.
Great. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I'm incredibly excited. Oh, excuse me.
That's okay.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the incredible opportunity that Kemper Sports and Winnetka Golf Club have offered me to lead the grounds department and the agriculture department at the newly renovated golf course. Rick and his team did an outstanding job, and I'm excited to be a patron to the community and uphold the standard of the golf course to the best of my ability. So thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Great. Moving on to item number 1.4. Swearing in Commissioner David Seaman. I'll ask the board secretary.
Okay. All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I,
David Seaman,
having been appointed to the office
having been appointed to the office
of Park Commissioner of the Winnetka Park District,
of Park Commissioner of the Winnetka Park District,
Cook County, Illinois,
Cook County, Illinois,
do hereby solemnly declare and affirm
do hereby solemnly declare and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
of Park Commissioner to the best of my ability.
of Park Commissioner to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very much. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Now you have to officially sign your
Okay.
oath of office.
Item 1.5, approval of tonight's agenda. Are there any requests for changes or additions to the agenda? Commissioner Seaman, any changes? Yes.
You want to go first? Yeah, I would like to remove section 3.2 and 3.3.
From consent?
From consent, and then 3.8.
That was 3.2, 3.3, and 3.8?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp stole my thunder.
Okay. Do we need a second there?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. They're removed, we'll consider them after consent. May I have a motion to approve the March 20th agenda as amended?
So moved.
Tyson, a second? A second?
Second.
Root. Any further discussion? All in favor? This can be a voice vote. Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. We're going to move right to item 1.6, which is the Centennial Dog Beach Review. And before we go to our regular public comment for tonight's meeting, we understand that there are some concerns in the community regarding the topic of Centennial's Dog Beach being discussed this evening. And so to give the broadest possible opportunity for the public to be informed and to participate in the public process of this discussion, we place this item at the earliest point in the meeting. We'll first have our staff review the materials. Then the board will discuss and ask staff any questions in order to clarify further. And at that point, we'll ask the public that are here to speak on the topic to come up to the podium as we would normally conduct public comment. Once concluded, the board will then have the opportunity to continue discussion, and at that point, the board may or may not decide to take action. Shannon.
Okay, so in regards to this item, we were approached by Cook County Animal Control in regards to the dog beach at Centennial Park. And that was in regards to public concerns, public complaints about dogs being off-leash in an on-leashed dog area. So by our ordinance 596, we require dogs to be on leash at Centennial Beach. This is something that we have not enforced, and it is now come to the attention of Cook County, and they are requesting that we remedy that. So in order to do that, there are a few options that the board and that the Park District need to take into account to be able to remedy that. The options that staff has provided to the board for further discussion, these are not the only options, but these are some primary ones. To consider adding a temporary type fence in the interim at Centennial Dog Beach, to change that to be an off-leash dog-friendly area. This would require a change to Ordinance 596, so an amendment to that ordinance or change thereof. This would also require permitting with the village and additional information provided to Cook County Animal Control for them to approve the dog-friendly area to make sure it meets their requirements. The other option would be to enforce the current ordinance that we have, which would require folks to have their pets on leash at that area. And we have provided in our memo some potential costs for that. And we would bring that to the board for discussion as we, as staff, are looking for direction. Right now, our direction for that area is just to clear debris. It's not to add any fence. So we wanted to make sure that we were as transparent as possible, brought it to the board for any decisions that we need to do from that perspective in order to be in compliance with Cook County.
Okay, perfect.
And we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Sure. So we're going to go around the room. Commissioner Seaman, do you have any questions regarding this issue?
I don't.
Excellent. Okay. Commissioner Tyson?
I just wanted to confirm that I'm looking at the costs with both options. If I'm reading this correctly, it's around $6,000 for the temporary fence, and then we're estimating the additional enforcement at around $34,500. Is that accurate?
Correct. For the fencing, that's fence that we already have.
Mhm.
So it's more of a installation cost, if you will.
Mhm.
And for the enforcement side of things, we looked at the number of hours. It might be not fully 24-hour monitoring of that sort, but taking certain time periods in a day to look at having an enforcement presence at the site if that was the direction that we went.
And this is, I'm sorry, another question.
Of course.
Third party
Yes.
enforcement?
Yes, this is the same company that we use for regular beach security,
Thank you.
of course.
Commissioner Rath?
Yes, is this on?
Yep.
Okay. I did have a few questions. One, I didn't see a schematic of the location of the fence, so I didn't have a good visual understanding. So I don't know if that will be covered later, or it's possible to have that, but I think it's helpful to see. And then just, I know that you said that there were some, recent complaints and communications from Cook County. I don't recall seeing those distributed or included in a weekly summary. Was it in writing?
No, it was not in writing. It was over the phone. I received a call from the Deputy Director of Animal Control,
Who?
Mark Rosenthal, Deputy
Okay.
Director Mark Rosenthal.
And was there a number of complaints?
I wasn't given that information.
Are they making other calls? Was this a routine call to all dog beaches, or was this a special call to us? Did you have a feel?
I don't know. I
Okay.
could only give you the information that was provided to me. And it's nothing that we sought out. I mean, unfortunately, I heard some snickers in the audience of, looking at like we're trying to hide anything. We're not. This is something that was brought to our attention, and as staff, we have an ordinance in place that we need to figure out a way to either enforce that or change what we have on policy.
Okay, and is it a concern just specific to the, already restricted area where the dogs can go, or was it also a more general concern? Because certainly, you can be around Winnetka and see people with dogs off leash even though they're not supposed to in other areas of town.
So there's two different sets of regulations that we're dealing with. There's a Cook County Animal Control Ordinance that defines and regulates animal-friendly areas.
Okay.
And we have defined the beach as an animal-friendly area, and we want to comply. As long as we're gonna let dogs run off leash, we're supposed to comply with the animal control ordinance that Cook County has. Outside of animal-friendly areas, the village has an ordinance that prohibits animals from running at large. And that means running without a leash. And so that's a village ordinance that's within the village's purview to enforce or not. So those affect each other and they overlap in some respect, but the Cook County ordinance only applies in areas where the owner of the property holds it out as an animal-friendly area.
Okay, right now it's an on-leash area.
Right now, it's an on-leash area, but people don't keep their dogs on a leash, from what I understand.
So, but I guess the piece that I don't understand is, have people also called the Winnetka Police Department? Because like, that would be,
a question for the police department. I wouldn't have that answer.
okay. I'm just, it's like if it were a problem, like if I felt like a dog were a problem roaming around off leash where they shouldn't, that would be who I would logically contact in that situation, so, okay.
If I can make a comment real quick, I wanted to share the schematic. Apologize it wasn't in the pack, but this is basically what we are proposing to do to address that concern for the fencing location. Approximately 20 feet from the south property line, approximately 20 feet from the north property line, double gate entry up to the seawall. That would complete the compliance need for the ordinance for Cook County. In regards to ordinance MC 14/2007 as approved by the village in 2008, January, as Adam alluded to, the village leash ordinance, if you will, does not pertain to this area. So this is what we are proposing for the cost of the $6,000. As our executive director has all mentioned, we have most of the materials in stock. The additional cost is for the rental equipment and labor to put the fencing in. So this would be a temporary capacity until we get determination on our actual plan that we have in for special use.
And the village has told us that in order to put up even a temporary fence, we have to go through the zoning process.
Through the zoning process or the fence permit?
The zoning process.
Special use process.
They have opined that adding a fence is a major change and will trigger the requirement for a full zoning process.
And how far, like I can't.
Can I interject? This
Hold
is
on,
Warren,
it's-
can I interject?
Wait, Warren, because Cynthia has the floor. Go ahead.
Good.
It's hard to see, like,
Sure, so
could you just,
yeah, I'll explain it. So here's the dog entry right now.
Yeah.
Currently where the wrought iron fencing is up top, where the magnetic gate is. Entry is down the staircase, and then you would hit the beach at this location. The north side of the property, like I said, about 20 feet in, we have a 4-foot chain link fence as we tried to install back in, I believe it was December of 2023, based on, or the commissioner at the, the executive director at the time's focus to install that. So we would look to install 4-foot chain link fence out in this direction here with a double entry gate. And then similar to that, we would mirror that on the south side, once again, 20 feet off the property line, 4-foot fence with a double entry gate system. This would allow for people to pass through the site and have the ability to have the leash off-leash zone so a dog wouldn't be able to get out once the gate is open. It would have that double entry system. This also takes in consideration the ability for one to walk the the lake at the ordinary high water mark, so they are still on Park District property, so then they can proceed to the ordinary high water mark to then either continue north or south as they so choose.
So how far out into the lake are the fences going?
Please don't use, this is an exaggeration at the time, this is just a image. We would put it into the lake as we've done before, I believe it was about 3 to 4 sections, enough to warrant where the dog shouldn't get around, but we're not gonna be going out very far into the lake where it's gonna be damage or a continual maintenance issue for staff to try to address.
Okay. So 3 to 4 sections of like 6-foot fence,
4 foot high, 4 to 8 inch tall,
but how much is,
and the distances between is approximately 8 foot. So yeah, so about
Like 30
24 to
feet?
32 feet.
okay.
Somewhere in that range. Please don't quote me on that, that's the estimated at this time. Depending on the sediment elevations, drop-offs, that might change accordingly, but we want to make sure that it's far enough out to contain the pets on the site.
So is it more like the removable fencing like at Gilson that they put out and take in?
This
Or
would
is it
be
gonna be
chain
like-
link, similar.
Is it like posted in concrete?
No, we just tried posting to the sand to hold it in place. So this is a temporary installation, this is not by any means a formal installation, this is temporary.
Okay. Thank you, that was helpful.
Sure.
Commissioner Root, and then Commissioner James, you'll be next.
Executive Director Nazal, before your tenure, and back in May of 2022, we had a Dog Beach Advisory Committee. And one of the requests of that committee was that the district seek an advisory opinion from Cook County as to whether a dog beach qualified as a dog park on land as set forth in the Cook County Animal Control Ordinance. I don't believe we've ever done that. In looking at the schematic here, it seems reasonable, certainly reasonable, but I'm kind of confused about the village's position. As I recall, had a chain link fence that was on our north side of Centennial that was destroyed and submerged, but still there. So why would we,
2010.
yeah, why would we not argue that all of this is grandfathered when we visit with the villages?
So we've had conversations with the village, and we know that they are working on looking at whether or not going from on-leash dog beach to off-leash dog beach is a change in use, which is what triggers a special use permit. That's the information that we're waiting on right now from the village. We just had a conversation, was it last week?
Last week Wednesday.
Yeah, last week with the village, and I've had additional conversations since then. I've had conversations with Cook County Animal Control. They've given us an idea of what we would need to submit to them in order to get the information in front of them as far as what could be considered a dog-friendly area per the Cook County standards. And based on these conversations, we would be able to do that if the board provides direction to go forward with any sort of fencing structure. And then we would likely get something back from Cook County in writing on their determination of that. But we have had those conversations, and from that, from those phone call conversations, it does not seem like it would be a concern for them the way that it is laid out, so long as we have all of the requirements that the ordinance has as far as signage and a plan in place for how the animals get in and out, that we're looking at vaccinations and those types of things, which we already do with the dog pass system. So I don't see that is an issue with moving forward. It seemed to me from those conversations that it was fairly straightforward with Cook County, and then we're just looking for further insight from the village on if we have to go through special use or if it would just be
I guess
like
my-
for construction.
Just to add to that, I've had a number of conversations this week with the village attorney about their original opinion, about their reconsideration of their original opinion, and they have reconfirmed their opinion that the Park District's plan will require us to go through the zoning process.
And that would not be an amendment to the existing special use application that is currently before?
No, because the current special use application is materially different. This is an interim change. That would be a change in use. And we wouldn't be abandoning the long-term plan. This would be a short-term application,
Yep.
but it wouldn't be an amendment to the existing application.
Again, my confusion is there are 6 other dog beaches on the North Shore. And I'm rather curious as to whether animal control in Cook County is focused. Have you asked, are you exploring all of these dog beaches for compliance?
I think we have to stay focused on,
No, I think this is important
No,
to
it's
know.
not, no, but like, if you get caught by a police officer speeding, you can't ask the police officer, why didn't you pull over everybody else? You're still speeding. And so we can't control what the county decides to do. We have the ability to control what we do and whether we comply.
Well, may I ask my questions?
Sure.
Thank you. The Dog Beach Advisory Committee suggested that we explore through an advisory opinion with the Cook County Attorney's Office as to whether our existing Centennial Dog Beach was a dog park on land that took it under the jurisdiction of this animal control ordinance. We never did that.
I think the legal definitions are being superseded by the permitting requirements and the regulatory body. So there can be a second work stream for legal determination that may take a longer period of time, but right now what we're faced with is a permitting requirement from the village, number one, and an accusation of non-compliance from Cook County.
And
So that's what we have to respond to.
President Cotto, thank you. I guess if I had been contacted by a regulator and the regulator advised me that they had received a complaint, I would ask to have a written record of how many complaints have been received, who made the complaint, because I want to reach out to the complainant to see if we could ascertain what the issues really were. To my knowledge, there have been very few complaints in my tenure as a commissioner on the dog beach, and the dog beach has been in existence, as we know, since the 1990s. I know that we want to comply.
Do you have more questions?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
making a statement because
I know, but
the Dog
we
Beach
have-
Advisory Committee spent an awful lot of time.
I
They
understand.
worked very hard.
Yeah.
They came up with recommendations, and
Yeah.
none of them
Yeah.
were pursued. Again, I'm just kind of curious as to why this issue continues to come round and round and round. The complainant never seems to want to come forward, and I think that there are suspicions that there is one complainant, and that's the concern.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, that's the end of,
thank you very,
I had one other.
thank you very much.
One other question that I've lost my train of thought on. Oh, I know what it is. Once we fence this, is there an ability to do away with this fob so that if you are someone who just loves to walk, the beach, as long as dog owners who are going in have their vaccinations and show that they are in compliance really with the village ordinances, can then we open this up to all residents who are willing to go through a dog beach just so that they can get in there and traverse, because that's been an issue. We've had a lot of residents come and say, hey, I want to get on Centennial Beach. I want to walk the beach. And I don't want to have to buy a fob. And we've had residents that say, I'll buy a fob, but I don't have a dog. And they've been told they couldn't.
So I think Costa articulated that it's still possible to walk the ordinary high water mark.
The design that, the design that we're proposing here, the gates on the north side.
I'm
and
going to
south
ask
side
the
of
gallery
beach.
just to let Costa speak, please. Friends in the gallery, I'm going to ask to let Costa speak. Go ahead, Gil.
The fencing that we're proposing with the double gate system on the beach will not be secured with the fob system. So we want to respect the right of people's ability to walk the beach.
Right.
We still will regulate at the top of the bluff as we currently do.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we are protecting those that are using the beach, whether it's with their canine friend or others that choose to, make sure their vaccinations and all their records are up to date, shots and so forth, so we can have some orderly conduct down there so there's no issues.
Okay, so that was your last question.
May
So
I
can
just, I didn't understand the answer, so I
Okay.
want to clarify. What I was suggesting is that the public would like to be able to access that gate at the top of the bluff without having to have a fob.
Understand, but if we're gonna do that, then there's no point of asking for the the vaccination records or anything else, because anybody can then come and go with their dog. We would have to supply staff to monitor and check passes at that point, where it makes sense to keep the practice that's in place to do that. And those who want to choose to walk the beach, once we get Elder open, they'll have an access down, and then they can choose to walk north and south from there.
One other comment, and then I'll be quiet. Other dog beaches on the North Shore have a code system where they just issue a code. The people learn the code and they can plug it in. And so if you're a resident, you can have access to the code without having to have a fob and having to have a dog. Just so that everyone can have access to Centennial. So it's just a suggestion. We might want to explore it, you might not. Thank you very much.
I would add on that Cook County's regulations do require some sort of restriction plan, that you have specific access, controlled access for those, to make sure that you have the vaccinations and that sort of thing. So we would have to provide whatever that plan is to Cook County, and they would be able to opine one way or the other if they would accept that for a dog-friendly area.
Okay. I think we have Warren waiting in the wings. Warren James.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Any questions?
Very good. I have questions, comments, and I'd like to raise a few points. The first thing I'd like to point out is that we, the elected officials of the Park District, are here to serve the interest of the community. We very much want to maintain a dog beach. We decided that on October 27, 2022, this board, or the prior board, unanimously endorsed keeping the dog beach at the south end of Centennial Park, but ensuring that we were in compliance with Cook County Animal Control Ordinance and afforded passage pursuant to IDNR guidelines, which suggest passage along the landward side. The plans that are submitted to the Plan Commission embrace and account for all of that. It also calls for relocating the gated access point from on top of the bluff down to the boardwalk elevation, the top of the steel bulkhead, to afford public access to the remainder of the beach while still conforming to Cook County Animal Control Ordinance. I'd like to refer everybody in the audience and everybody who's maybe listening to page 196 of the current submittal to the Plan Commission, which is Part 2, Administrative Regulations, the Cook County Animal and Rabies Control Ordinance, and it lists all of the requirements to operate an enclosed off-leash dog park. That's what we have designed to be in conformance with. Go back to a little bit more history. I think Colleen said it. The dog beach was established in 1995. Winnetka established their leash laws in 2007 or 2008, as Kostya just said. With respect to fences on beaches, I will refer you to, again, Exhibit 8 to the Plan Commission. This is on page 218. It shows a picture of Centennial Dog Beach with the existing fence, or with the then existing fence that secured the north end of Centennial. It prevented dogs from running from Centennial Dog Beach northward along the lake shore. that fence, as you can clearly see, was inundated by the rising water, and it was obliterated, and there's still some poles out there that we have yet to be able to retrieve, and that's part of the cleanup process. But we did remove what we could get to already. But also then refer you to page 220, which show fences on beaches at Kenilworth, Glencoe, and Evanston. Page 221, Chicago Montrose. Page 225, Kenilworth and DeTale. Page 226, Evanston South Boulevard. Page 227, Evanston Lee Street. Page 228, Evanston Clark Street. And page 229, Lake Bluff Sunrise Beach. There are plenty of examples of fences on beaches that are there for either security, for fall protection, or dog beach enclosures. The fact that the village of Winnetka has determined that we should go for a special use permit when we have been operating a dog beach with a fence. We've been operating a dog beach since 1995. We had a fence, as Commissioner Root stated, for many years, and it was destroyed by the rising water levels. I do not see why we had temporarily made this an on-leash beach. Why should we be compelled to go through another zoning process when clearly the community and the Park District wishes to allow people and their dogs to enjoy the beach in conformance with the Cook County Rabies and Animal Control Ordinance? We have a very simple, cost-effective solution. So any animus directed towards the Park District in this matter should rather be directed to the village, who seems to be unnecessarily stymieing the public's interest to operate an off-leash dog park at Centennial. There are certainly other solutions, but we are before the Planning Commission right now with the permanent solution to the dog beach situation. Temporarily,
Warren, I'm going to stop you.
let's come together as a community.
Do you have any?
Come together, community, and install a temporary fence and let everybody go about their business.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Why are we being denied the opportunity to reinstall a fence that was destroyed by rising lake levels?
That's a question we can't quite answer. Now that the village has permitting authority for this and they've determined, then that's where we are. Yes.
I have a question for Warren.
Yes.
The page numbers that you were referring to, can you just review again where we would find them?
So these, if you go to the current Plan Commission submittal.
So which
Exhibit.
date? The January 22nd one?
The current one.
The responses to the questions, the 417-page submittal, you can find it on the village website, you can find it on the Park District website, Exhibit 8. Well, just let me give you page numbers.
No, I
Page
wrote
190.
those, but
Page, you asked for page numbers, I'm giving you page numbers. Page 196 lists the Cook County Animal Control Ordinance requirements.
okay.
I would refer you then to page 218 through 229 for pictures of fences on beaches up and down the North Shore,
Okay.
including our own Centennial Dog Beach.
Okay. Any questions, Warren? Beyond
My question is,
the obvious
why
question.
are we being denied? There is a fence in place, Ishbia's temporary construction fence that secures the south end. Why are we being denied the opportunity to reinstall a fence that was previously there? Why do we have to go through such falderall to do that?
Yeah, I think that's a question that our attorneys have asked of the village attorneys, and the answer has simply been they have the permitting authority, and that's what they're going to exercise. I think we've completed the circle of all the commissioners, and I'm going to open this up to public comment regarding the dog beach. Do you want to raise your hand if you'd like to speak on the dog beach? Please come forward. State your name, public comment. It's your opportunity to address the board on Centennial Dog Beach. Come to the center position, Speak into the microphone, state your name for the record, and speak to the board. And based on the public comment policy described in the board policy manual and referenced in the Public Access Counselor Opinion 2024 PAC 81900, guests may present public comment for no longer than 3 minutes after being recognized. If you prefer to share your comments in writing this evening, you may do so by leaving them with a member of the Park District staff. Please.
Commissioners, if you don't mind turning off your microphone, yeah, we just have a lot of devices. Thank you very much.
Hi there, Jennifer Hernandez, 400 Sheridan Road. I just have to come up here and talk about the comment on the absurdity that we're sitting here talking about enforcement of unleashed dogs. Possibly spending tens of thousands of dollars on staff enforcement or people standing at the beach to enforce unleashed dogs at Centennial Beach. We have real crime happening in Winnetka now on a regular basis. It has taken almost a year to get any extra nighttime enforcement after the events of Memorial Day. Car theft, home invasions, even unsolved attempted murder, and we are talking about stationing guards to monitor unleashed dogs at a dog beach when we can't get extra drive-by police officers on Sheridan Road. The beach we're talking about spending all this money, tens of thousands possibly, to have staff monitoring unleashed dogs, just happens to bump up next to the properties of one certain private citizen. The optics here are not good. There are many laws in Winnetka worthy of extra enforcement: car theft laws, home invasion laws, and attempted murder. If someone feels threatened by an unleashed dog, please call 911 and hope for the best. That's what the rest of us do. On to land swap and possible various proposed revisions to Elder and Centennial Beach. I'm going back to the dogs. If there's anything we've learned over the last 5 years of a closed Elder Beach and proposed land swap deal, it's that you don't mess with the dog owners of Winnetka. The dog beach is not moving off the shores of Lake Michigan. As you discussed, the Park District has already explored moving the dog beach to Maple Beach or near Skokie Schools. It's not happening. Once the Park Board faces this reality, combining the People Beach and the dog beach no longer makes sense. We probably all need to shift back to what true beauty is. As a community, we have become obsessed with maximizing and controlling every square foot of nature in our community. Do we really need to be blowing every last leaf off of our lawns every week, or in some cases multiple times a week? Similarly, so many of us don't want another Lloyd Beach. Elder Beach is so small, the last thing we need is most of it taken up by a ridiculously wide pier with all these rocks dumped in the water. Some years sand is higher than the others, so be it. Part of the fun of walking down to Elder Beach in May is to see where the water line will fall that summer. Open Elder Beach in 2025, stop talking about unleashed dogs. Leave the natural beauty of our shore, there's nothing like our Great Lakes. The situation has changed since Winnetka did its master plan. The dog beach is not leaving Elder and Centennial. Please stop wasting time and money and resources on any land swap. The line item for taxpayer money that I last looked at, it was over $300,000, and that doesn't include the extra $140,000 legal fees, which I assume is wrapped up in that.
So you need to wrap up.
Fix the existing pier and pipes, open Elder Beach once and for all, and leave the unleashed dogs alone.
Thank you very much for your public comment. Raise your hand if you'd like to speak and you're in the second row. Please come forward.
Hi, good evening. Thanks everybody for keeping this as an open forum and for being transparent and sending us all an email in regards to this being on the agenda for this evening. I'm a resident. My name is Lynn Brenner. And I just wanted to point out that we went through this all a couple years ago, and I feel like we're back to the starting point with not transparent information. This off-leash dog beach has been a part of my life for over 20 years. Many dogs. It doesn't cause any issues. I know the one complaint you might have gotten was never brought up. Nobody knew of that information, and I do feel like every time we are always in compliance. So going forward with what the current plan is, adding that fence, by the way, phenomenal explanation, very straightforward, meeting the criteria of the Cook County. It just doesn't make sense to spend more time and more money because of one resident that's on the south end of the beach. So unfortunately, for this park district, if you're not ready to battle the village to get whatever that takes to put up a fence that we've already had, to me, I'm ashamed to be a resident, and it's unfortunate. So thank you for your consideration, and I really do hope that this is a closed-off suggestion and we move forward with opening up Elder Beach and enjoying the lakefront. The property is beautiful. It should be shared by everybody as residents and non-residents as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Raise your hand if you'd like to come forward.
Hi, my name is Kay Whitchurch. My family has lived at 143 Fuller Lane for the last 42 years. My father is Randy Whitchurch, who many of you knew. He passed away 7 months ago. I'd like to echo the other community members who've spoken. This Dog Beach has functioned, Dog Beach and Dog Park has functioned as an important part of this community, not only for dogs, but for dog owners to come together, to enjoy one another, to enjoy the park, to enjoy the beach. My father has been a part of making sure that that happens since the 90s. This is unnecessary. It's really focused on one person making complaints, and we are a bigger community than that. This is not about one person. This is about a community being able to enjoy a space. And as the previous community members have mentioned, there are so many bigger issues than this. Let us enjoy our dogs. Let us enjoy our community. Let us enjoy this open land. And please, please allow it to just happen in a way that a community can work together instead of just freaking out over a particular complaint. I say that all on behalf of my dad, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm looking now at the third row, I believe. If you want to raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Anyone in the third row from the front? Thank you.
I'm Jared Offerly, 112 Fuller Lane. How did we get here? In 1995, Centennial was turned into a dog beach because out of non-residents would come to the beach and not have to pay to go to Elder Lane, so they would go to Centennial. So we closed that off and made it a dog beach, and it has been wonderful in the ensuing decades. In 2020, the water level of Lake Michigan was high, and basically there was no beach. There was a little bit of the dog, but there wasn't an Elder. The following year, the water had receded, but we didn't open Elder Lane Beach. So now we have the dog beach, which we've all had discussions about. There had been a chain link fence, which was over 6 feet tall, that had been maintained by the owners of 261 Sheridan and the Park District, and no one had a problem with it. It used to bend, it would be put back up. It was fine. It wasn't until 2021 that you or the owners of 261 no longer maintained that fence. It fell in, and then we got to the village. So we're going to put in a 4-foot 8-inch one. Great. It's probably a little small, but that's okay. I will commit, and I'm sure all the proponents behind me for the dog beach will commit to going to the zoning board meeting and the village meeting to get a permit so that we can put that fence back in and we leave the dog beach alone. So that is my promise to you. Thank you for your time. We've all been on boards, and we know that I'm going to leave and go to dinner, but you're going to stay here and still be hungry. But thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm looking for a raised hand in the third row, or I'll move back to the fourth row. In the fourth row, is there anyone who wants to speak? Please come forward.
An email. I'm Justin Woodward. I'm new. I've been like a year now. Moved from Montana. Just to paint a little picture for you, in Montana state national parks, we hop on a trail, you run to a mountain lake, take a swim with your dog, you go home. Well, you don't even think about a leash a lot of times. My dog learned to walk on a leash when I moved here. That was a year ago. I came and I was like, holy cow, the permitting process is amazing, right? You've got like, he had to have a green tag when he first got here. He's already got his purple one now, I guess, the new one. We had to get the dog fob. We made sure that all the background checks were done, right? Like, there's a significant amount of stuff. It would be easier to have a gun, seriously, than in that vein, we live right across from the park. People walk all the time. It's kind of awesome. We actually end up probably having wine on the porch with a lot of them throughout the summer. So if you're ever doing that, come by. But it is an awesome little community of people that walk their dogs there. Dogs come back beat after swimming a little bit. That's kind of awesome. So I would highly recommend we preserve that. If it means helping out to get a permit, or whatever, I would highly recommend that. But the people, at least that Fuller Lane Circle would love to welcome the rest of the community in. Use your dogs there. Let them be an animal for a little bit, right? Before you take them back to your house and spend the rest of the day inside. So that's fine.
Thank you very much. I'm just observing the final row. Okay, so you missed your chance, but please come up.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm running out of
Okay, that's okay. Please come up.
Steve Juliuson, 1436 Asbury. We have a little dog. We went to the dog beach once. The dog didn't like it, so. I don't know. I know people love it, but the things I've heard about listening to this is I would suggest that the park district really try to just not be adversarial. Just go talk to the village, see what the deal is. If they want you to do something and go through a thing where you have to do some kind of zoning, was it, that you had to do?
It would be the full special use permit process.
Yeah, I mean,
That's zoning.
but you never had to do it before, right?
We have new regulations now.
Okay, well, it seems like maybe the first step would be, bring him a pie or something. Don't be adversarial, I would say. Also, I noticed there's a rule that you have about people who are not supposed to have their dogs on a leash, or off of a leash. They're supposed to be leashed in certain areas. I walk our dog that doesn't go to the beach by the park, and a lot of people will take their dog to Nick Corwin Park and let the dogs run, which is not what the signs say. You're not supposed to do that. There's really no way to enforce that. So I would wonder if you guys want to make your life easier, maybe if you can enforce the law, or else you do enforce the law, but then you make sure that people get penalized for it, because the first time somebody gets a ticket for $250, they're probably, or whatever it is, they're not going to want to do that again. So that's a real issue. There's no deterrent when you have these laws or these rules and then nobody complies, and then it's kind of like, our democracy's in danger, so. And then finally, I would just say, I think, listen to what Colleen Root said, that codes seem to work better than fobs in my mind, because you're going to forget the fob or something. You can forget the code too, but you can put the code in your pocket, and then you could, when you go out. So it just seems like the easy peasy, low, difficulty things to do. I would err on that side and do those things. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Looking for any other raised hands in the back row. Oh, please come up. Yes, please come up.
I'm Mary Garrison. I lived through this, 1995, when the dog beach was established. And it was the largest public hearing that the Park District ever had. We were in the Village Hall, and the room is packed. But I have a couple of comments about the dog beach and about elders, so maybe this is the time.
Yeah, this will be dog beach, and then we'll have regular public comment afterwards if you want to come back again about other general.
Well, it's kind of combined, so we'll see. Okay. It appears to me that despite some people say it's necessary to serve on this park board, but it is not necessarily true. Some people think that certain letters of the alphabet, such as MBA, are important to be a qualified commissioner. My observance, belief, and experience show me that the knowledge of the needs of our community, availability to speak and listen to our residents, and understanding the mission statement are the most important criteria needed to serve our community. To this point, I am very happy to see that Winnetka Park District and the Village of Winnetka have come together to solve a 4-year-long citizen request. to open Elder Beach. I don't know if that's happening now after listening tonight. I personally believe that this request is long overdue. For 4 seasons, Elder Beach has been closed, not maintained, and suffers safety issues. Commissioners on this board must listen to our constituents. Equally important for our Dog Beach pass holders, Centennial Beach has provided opportunity for a group of people of all ages to enjoy another of the wonderful opportunities available in our community. This gathering area serves many residents. Opening Elder and preserving the Dog Beach are high priorities for the Winnetka Park District. I thank you for realizing that opening and maintaining Elder and understanding the benefits of the Centennial Dog Beach for many taxpayers. It's the only use in Winnetka that they really enjoy. Their children have grown, they're not doing programming and so forth. Not that our programming is not important, but we value our town, and that's extremely important, to value our residents. And the Dog Beach is, I've just watched it over the years, it's a gathering spot. So I think we really need to fight for that Dog Beach. I also am kind of curious about the Cook County regulations. Is that dog park regulations or Dog Beach? Are they the same, one and the same? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your public comment. I'm going to look around the room, but we've gone all the way back and then we've come all the way forward, so I'm assuming that everyone who wanted to speak has had a chance to speak. If that's not the case, please raise your hand. We'll have time for, okay. I'm going to go ahead and, do you want to come forward?
President Cotto, while they're making their way up front, if I could clarify on the Cook County rules and regulations that they call it a dog-friendly area. It's not specific to park or beach or parking lot. It's just dog-friendly area.
Thank you. That's helpful. Did everyone hear that? Okay. Please go
Hi,
ahead.
Joanna Karatzis. I live on Provident. I have a question about the Dog Beach. I don't have a dog. I like dogs, but we travel too much to have a dog. But I'd like to go to the Dog Beach, and I'm perfectly willing to pay for the fog fee so that I can go walk down on the beach. And I bet there's no ordinance saying that that can't happen. So I was wondering if that could be taken into consideration. You make a little bit more money. The other thing about the Dog Beach is it has kept over all these years nature. I think a lot of the directions of parks kind of leave nature, but the Dog Beach has kept nature. You know, the residents, I think that's been very important. They've been very good stewards of the beach. But, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've gone all the way back. We've come all the way forward. If there are any more raised hands, please raise them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment for the Dog Beach. I'm going to bring it back up here. We're going to have a little conversation and we're going to probably make a decision with regard to the direction that we're going to offer to staff. Okay? Commissioner Seaman, would you like to make a suggestion with regard to the direction we should offer staff?
You've asked me to speak first twice now, in my very first meeting back after almost 2 years. There's a resolution that we passed when I was on the board the first time in October of 2022 that said that we're going to have a dog beach on Centennial between, 220 and 2...
Yeah.
That resolution still stands. I don't understand why there is somehow in the community someone saying that we're closing the Dog Beach. We've already gone through that. The community spoke pretty loudly about it. That'd be one thought. My second thought is we're not an enforcement agency. We have people at our beaches that take, when they just want to go to the beaches without dogs, some people just walk right through and don't actually have a beach ticket, a beach pass. We do not ask the people that take the tickets to enforce. or write tickets. I do not believe that we should be an enforcement agency if people are down at this beach without their dogs on the leash. So the only logical and really easy decision, I can't believe I'm like back in the jungle here, it's been an hour, that we're actually having all this discussion. We need to put a fence up so that this dog beach can remain and people can enjoy their dogs. As someone once said when we first went through this is not a dog beach, it's a people beach for people with dogs. That's what it is. So I would like to have a fence. I would love to work with the village constructively and respectively. Get a fence up with passage so that people can enjoy their dogs at Centennial. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'll start at the other side next time. Commissioner Root.
Oh my, see what
There you go,
got?
see? Yes.
See what you got? Goodness, I thought I might have time. Again, the fencing seems, we had a fence. To me, this is all grandfathered. I know that the village doesn't see it that way.
Yes.
But, you know, I have absolutely no problem with the barrier fences on either boundary.
Perfect. Team fence.
I mean, yeah,
Sorry,
no.
don't mean to cut you off.
What I am concerned about is that if we have to go through the zoning process, this is going to take some time. And so I'm hopeful that we may be able to exercise some discretion while we're going through zoning to let people continue to enjoy the Centennial Dog Beach as we're working to get approval to construct our fence. And I certainly agree with the comments that were made about dogs running all over parks everywhere in this community without any enforcement. So I would suggest that we maybe turn a blind eye until our fencing goes up and let people enjoy the Centennial Dog Beach. My concern is that there may be an effort to close this beach while we go through the zoning process. And I want some clarification on that, if I could, please. And also, I share the comments of those who spoke and said one call to a executive or deputy director of animal control leads us to this level of scrutiny here. Again, one call.
Yeah.
I would want further details.
Yeah.
And
But
again,
you're summarizing.
we are giving deference to compliance. We agree that we are moving forward with compliance. So whoever made this call, I want details and I want to talk to the person and say, we're working on it and we're going to get it done. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's 2 for team fence. Commissioner Rapp?
I would just say, is there any wiggle room in the village for, you know, the temporariness of the fence? People do put up, you know, construction fencing on a temporary basis. Is there an angle to put it up seasonally and then take it down as Wilmette does with Gilson? Because my understanding is that their dog beach fencing goes up in the main season and then comes back later. So it is more of a seasonal fence. And so those are my comments. I mean, I certainly don't relish enforcement. I think that sounds awful. So
Agree.
that seems a more reasonable approach.
Okay. Commissioner Tyson?
Also, team fence, I think hopefully that's the least path of resistance, but we will see as we go through the process. We will learn maybe what the time frame will look like at that point, and then we come back and discuss whether we want to try something else. But in the meantime, I think we're all interested in using the dog beach as it was intended.
Correct. Okay. Commissioner James?
I'm a dog lover. I've had 5 dogs since raising my family here, and our current dog Delta loves the dog beach. I'd like to see it open and usable as an off-leash dog park. The easiest solution is to reinstall the fence that was destroyed during the high water period. The next best solution is to say yes to temporary fencing. And the third and final is to continue with the process to get our plans approved. I remain committed to the motion that was passed October 27, 2022 to keep an off-leash dog park at Centennial.
Okay. Thank you. I echo the comments of the commissioners up here. Definitely, we want to keep it open. We passed a resolution to that effect in October of 2022. I just want to be super clear about that. Number two, we definitely want to do it in a safe and compliant fashion with all of the current regulations. Number three, we can go before the village, stress that it is a temporary situation, hope that we can get some relief in terms of the full-blown zoning process for a temporary fence, and see. I think Adam has exercised all of his charms together with the village attorney, and their response has been fairly clear. But I am also team fence, so that would be, I think we have consensus on the direction for the staff to pursue is a fence.
Okay, so for steps forward, so the village staff does know that we're having this conversation this evening.
Excellent.
So they are aware, we've had this conversation, that we would be discussing this and seeing what those next steps would be. So we will get back with village staff to check on that, on those steps, on what we're able to do. And then we're ready to also send the information back to Cook County. We would likely have to make changes to our submissions to IDNR and Army Corps, correct?
Yeah, so IDNR had opined when we put the temporary fence back in January of '23, when we had to pull it back out. At that time, we did reach out to each one of the different governing bodies, and we would have to go through a review with the IDNR as well for their review of the fencing. So I don't know how that would come out, but we will ask the question again. We didn't submit at that time, but we will look forward to submitting now.
Thank you. Thank you. Many of you have offered to support us at the village in our pursuit of this fence, and we may take you up on that because we've all taken good notes. So thank you very much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and move on to regular public comment. Do we need to vote on the direction?
This consensus was clear.
Okay. Perfect.
And we'll need to come back to the board anyway for a change to amendment to the ordinance.
Perfect.
To allow for off leash and that too. So we'll have to come back to the board.
Okay. We're going to move to regular public comment. And again, this is your opportunity to address the board on any issue. When called upon, please come to the center podium in front of the commissioners, stand at the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name for the record, speak directly to the board. Based on the public comment policy described in the board policy manual and referenced in Public Access Counselor Opinion 2024 PAC 81900, guests may present public comment for no longer than 3 minutes after being recognized. If you prefer to share your comments in writing this evening, you may do so by leaving them with a member of the Park District staff. So I'm going to look for a show of hands, starting at the back of the room this time, to see if anyone has comments that they would prefer to make on any other topic outside of the dog beach. I see one raised hand. Please come forward.
Thank you, Christina, and I could mostly hear you from the back.
Working on it.
I also know in the budget you have a few extra shekels this year to continue to improve them. I am here to speak on a problem in your brochure on your residency. It doesn't conform in your beach pass. You say in the 2025 season beach pass application that from May 15th to September 15th, parking in the parking lot at Tower Road Beach and Maple Street Beach is restricted to Winnetka residents with a Winnetka Village parking sticker. The only exception to this is Northfield residents. Well, what about the Hubbard Woods residents and Kenilworth residents? And I don't know if there's a little teeny Glenview one. I know where the property lines are. But the other thing is I couldn't find a property boundary line on the Park District, which I generally know in my head, but I can't speak specifically to it. But could you please go through your beach rules and parking regulations and make sure they all conform? Because there's 3 different areas where you say Northfield residents in one, and you say something that is not, it's like an oxymoron. So if we could do that, I marked them up, and it'd be easier just to meet with somebody and show where they are. But it's really important to those of us not to be disenfranchised. That's all I'm respectfully asking, because I think they all do pay their taxes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
As everybody knows or may not know, the district boundaries are different from the village boundaries and extend into other jurisdictions.
Right,
So
they're
we
not
just want to make
coterminous with the
Correct.
village boundaries.
Correct. So we want to make sure we have
And we
those.
just want to make sure that it's not just Northfield residents that get to vote.
Perfect, perfect.
Or get, everybody gets an equal amount if you're in the Winnetka Park District residency thing.
Correct.
So please, whenever you're writing things up, please be aware that you should be saying Winnetka Park District residents.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for any other raised hands of people who want to speak on any other topics. Please come forward.
Hi, Christian Miller, 39-year resident of Winnetka, most recently, the last 5 years in Glennetka. So thank you, Susie. I am a Winnetka Park District, but I straddle that line. I'd like to speak about the Elder Centennial Beach, which has been a very complicated project with at least a 5-year history. I think it is very important for the elected Park District Commissioners to know the entire history, not just broadly, but in detail, including the cost of the project, which now I hear is reported to be $17.8 million. The delay in opening Elder Beach will require structural change. These changes on the beach are a forever change, permanent. So every step should be thoughtfully reviewed. To get it right does require study and public input, including how to fund such a massive project. I recommend that a referendum on this project should be presented to Winnetka Park District taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on all topics? Please.
Hi, Colin Cross. I know the donation agreement is on the agenda later on.
Correct.
And do I need to be here for that, do you think? Or I'm happy to stay and make a comment now. It seems like I always come behind some dog beach lovers, which is great. I love dogs.
Go ahead and make it, yeah.
So there's been a fair amount of deferred maintenance on the courts, and so the club, wants to essentially accelerate maintenance so that we can have the courts resurfaced, the ones that are being resurfaced, and the screens replaced that need replacement. And hopefully it can get done this summer. So there's this bid process, I know, and all the rest of it, but hopefully we can execute before the next season comes up, because it is also a safety issue. The other thing I'd mention real quickly is an update, is I met with a couple of, our board met with a couple of architects last evening at a board meeting, and we have 2 excellent architects who will help us. We have to pick one. They're both paddle players, members of the club, which is great, to help shepherd us through this whole process to get to the point where we can put a shovel in the ground and start construction of the addition to the hut. Each one of them mentioned the easement, and Shannon, I didn't have a chance to talk. You may already be working on that, but the easement that runs right through the property is kind of a critical path that has to be dealt with. So I just want to make those couple of quick comments. So thank you.
Perfect. I think that's very helpful. I think we can attend. You don't need to stick around for item 6.1 because I think we have a memo from Elisa.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I'm not going to stick around
now. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment now, and we will move on to, I believe it's the consent agenda. We have removed items 3.2, 3.3, and 3.8. May I have a motion to approve the items 3.1, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, and 3.9 as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
That was Tyson and Root, and that is a roll call vote.
Turn my mic on. Commissioner James?
Commissioner James, could you repeat, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Koda?
Yes.
Passes.
Excellent. Okay. Now we'll consider item 3.2, which is the February financial report. I think you had questions.
I did have questions.
Yes.
Are you ready for them?
Feel free. Yes.
Okay. I had questions on the financials. Normally, I might have emailed these ahead of time, but in light of sensitivity on my emails, I am raising them in the meeting. The comp plan costs that we had fully budgeted in 2024, I did not see in capital expenses, so I don't know if there's a roll forward of those dollars, but it is concerning to have funds going out but then not showing up in the financial reports for the month. So if I missed them, let me know, but I believe that it was in corporate administration. The other thing I just wanted to note publicly is each month I ask for the legal invoices and then the consultant invoices for major projects. Because of the extraordinary efficiency of our executive director, I realized that I already had the legal invoices. So even though I asked Commissioner Tyson, I already had them. So I was like, wow, that's amazing. And we didn't have any consultant invoices. I am curious to look at the Tyler invoice because it's a large amount of money. And then just in terms of other things that I asked for, occasionally I would like to look at the credit cards. It continues to concern me that we have like pages of nondescript credit card charges. I think we had like 3 pages of credit card charges with no text description, and that was something that was changed in like October-ish 2021. I know looking at the September 2021 credit card vouchers, every charge had a description, so that, I think is an opportunity, it remains an opportunity. And then occasionally I ask for salary and wage information that's a little bit more detailed, just because we have had such large changes in that category, mostly driven by golf, but I think it's helpful to understand, what's driven by golf and what's not. So I wanted to put my normal asks out there and, for consideration by staff, and to make sure other board members were aware, even though people have been aware, because everyone was always copied on every response to anything that I ask about. So those are my comments on 3.2.
Okay. Are there any other comments on item 3.2? May I have a motion to approve the February 2025 financial report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
That's Root and Tyson. That's a roll call vote.
Okay. Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Sure, yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner James? Commissioner James?
Commissioner James, you're muted.
About that. Sorry about that. No comments.
Yes.
You- This is vote to approve 3.2.
Oh. Sorry. Yes, I'm in favor of 3.2. Yes.
And then Commissioner Koda.
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
Thank you very much. Item 3.3, you asked to be pulled also. Yeah.
Did you vote on it?
Go ahead.
I had hoped that Jim Crocker might be here this evening. And this deals with our ordinance to abate taxes with respect to the alternative revenue bonds, and my ability to quite understand what our debt service expense is annually with respect to the money that we have been carrying for the beach project. And so I don't know, Executive Director Nizal, if you can answer my question or not, but I do understand the abatement ordinance, whereby we are going to be paying a little over $220,000. Where I'm still confused is when we look at this arbitrage liability, where we budgeted $433,000, about $434,000 this year. So do I add those two amounts together to come up with what our debt service fee is for the money that we have had sitting for, I guess the last one was since 2021?
So,
go ahead.
So any amount the Park District pays for arbitrage is a pass-through. It's excess income we receive over the interest that we owe on the bonds. So there's no extra out-of-pocket expense. It's just a pass-through of our extra investment earnings. So while we are paying it, we're not taking it away from something else.
So think about it this way. If you've got a bond, we have bonds and they're roughly at somewhere between 1% and 2.5%. And if we earn, because
No, I understand.
the rate environment.
I understand what the arbitrage
Yeah,
is.
let me just finish.
Okay.
Well, let me see, if we,
Yeah, sorry.
we earn like 6
Yeah.
because the rate environment has evolved in this fashion. We're covering the interest from the earnings, but anything in excess, we have to give back.
Goes to the
But we're-
IRS.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we're covering the interest and we're just losing the excess.
Thank you for that. I guess I was looking at the budget and I'm seeing that for the past 3 years, we've had a debt service of about $840,000. And I know
Across.
part of that is the 2011 bonds that went into useful service, but the remainder of this debt service seems to be money that, we took out, bonds we took out, and then the line of credit with Wintrust back in 2021, that's
Yeah.
just been sitting there.
This
as
is
a weed.
specifically for 2020.
Yeah.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to get a handle on what.
So there's a whole, in the annual report, there's a whole list of all the debt issues outstanding.
Yes.
And all the
I recall that.
amortization and the debt service numbers. So that's publicly available and we publish that every year.
What I'd like to know specifically is what our annual debt service is to carry these funds that the bonds and also the 2021 Wintrust line of credit, as we're waiting to get approval to do the speech plan. I think our community might want to know that.
Yeah, we haven't drawn down the interest.
That would be zero,
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
because we are earning more than what the debt cost us.
correct.
So
Okay,
it
so
is
that's
actually
good to know.
highly unusual
Very
that
unusual.
because we took debt out in 2020 at a very low rate, that we can actually earn more than what we're paying, but we have to give back whatever we're earning in excess of that. So the debt actually cost us zero. And whether we use it or not, it still costs us zero. We'd like to use it, right? We'd like to spend it.
We'd like to get it done.
So right now, that specific issue and maybe one other is actually a zero net cost to us. There are some other legacy debts, which I think are at a higher rate, that may net cost us. But if you look at the 2025 budget report, this thing they just put on us, our total debt service payments are about $1.36 million. That includes interest and principal repayment.
Thank you very much. We're glad to have you back on the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Seaman. May I ask for just one further clarification on the alternate revenue bonds? There, I do believe that there is an expense that is not covered, where we are paying about $220,000 a year. Is that correct?
I'll defer to Jim Crocker.
That was part of the financing plan. That was intentional. That's why it's an alternate revenue bond, because we pledged non-property tax revenues to pay for this debt service. So whatever we're paying in lieu of asking the taxpayers for more money was part of the intentional plan when they issued them. That's why it's an alternate bond.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Seaman. It's so nice to have you back.
Indeed, indeed. Okay. May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-002, the annual tax abatement?
So moved.
Excellent. May I have a second?
Second.
That's Root and Rapp, and that is a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes. You hear me?
Yes. Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
And Commissioner Cotto?
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
Excellent. Item 3.8, you pulled also?
Yes.
Yes.
I just had a couple more specific questions on the scope of work for this one, just to get a little bit of narrative around
Sure, for the woodland.
for the woodlands, just
Yeah.
because Crow Island is, you know, an area that a lot of people have an affection for. It is an area that hopefully at some point this spring will be fully back online. It's an area when the woodland brush in front of the Schmidt-Burnham house is cut and people drive by. Some of us do feel like a little traumatized when it's clear.
Some of the fall cut downs can be dramatic, but this is really targeting invasive species, and it's throughout the season. There's a lot of different stuff that comes up at different times, and it'll be pinpointing specific areas where invasives have taken over the woodland at all three sites. So we did have a mandatory meeting, and I just want to clarify for our recommended selection that because of the mandatory meeting, the other firm did not fail to meet the requirements of attending that meeting, which drove us to our recommendation. But to answer your question, as far as what the scope is, it's going to be several site visits of this firm throughout the season with a team of individuals to target invasive species in a variety of methods, from manually pulling to cutting and treating chemically, and some, I think there's some other methods that they use as well.
The other big question that I had is, I know, like at Crow Island Woods, that there has been a poison ivy issue, and also at Bellwoods.
Yep.
And so is that one of the invasives?
Yes, that is on the list, and during the mandatory meeting, that was one of the reasons we had that, was to walk the site and specifically point out the problem areas with poison ivy and some of the other items that have kind of popped back up that are of concern to the park district. Okay. So having that meeting was really important, so that they could, whatever firm showed up, they would truly understand the scope of the job.
Okay, no, that's good news, because both of those parks are heavily used by the schools, and it's not a happy day.
Yeah, right. With the proximity
with poison ivy.
Yeah, with the proximity of the school, we definitely want to keep that in mind, and that message was relayed
Oh,
clearly.
great. Okay, no, that's fantastic. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding
No,
3.8? Perfect.
No, I think those are good public messages to have out there.
Good.
Thank you very much.
May I have a motion to approve the bid from Pizzo and Associates from Leland, Illinois for the contractor on this woodland management project in the amount of $40,300?
Yes, so moved.
So moved. Rapp, second.
Second.
Tyson.
All right, Commissioner James? I think that was a yes.
Can you repeat yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Rapp?
Somebody give me a thumbs
Yes.
up if you can hear me.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Cotto?
Yes.
That passes?
Excellent. Moving on to item number 4, presentations, the comprehensive master plan. Very exciting. Thank you very much. Take it away, Barry Dunn, executives.
Is this on? Yep. Oh. President Cotto, Commissioners, thank you very much for giving us time tonight on your busy, busy agenda to talk about engagement. We have a long agenda, and I know a lot has already gone on, so we're going to try to go through this relatively quickly tonight. We're going to do some quick introductions, give you a quick project overview, what we've done so far and where we're headed. And then I'm going to turn it over to our survey consultant, Ryan, who's on the phone with us. He's going to go through the survey, and then Nikki and I will fill you in on other engagement efforts. So quick reminder, I'm Elsa Fisher. I'm the project manager. Nikki Ginger is the engagement manager. We're both from Barry Dunn. Hitchcock Design Group, led by Steve Conters, did all the park inventory and evaluations with his team. Williams Architects, led by Frank Parisi, did all the facility evaluations and inventory. Ryan's on the call tonight with us to talk about the survey, and then we have some other team members who have participated along the way. So quick project overview. We divided your project up into 6 phases. This is going back several months ago when we provided a bid. We're at the analysis phase now. We're actually wrapping up the analysis phase. Tonight we're going to be talking about engagement. So that was phase 2. Once we wrap up the analysis phase, which we're working on now, we're going to do some visioning with staff. That's where we say, what did we learn from this entire process? And then how do we go about filling the gaps and making recommendations for your final plan? So we're going to write a draft plan. We'll come to you with a presentation. We'll take your input. We'll get a final plan. And then the very last step will be an implementation workshop with staff, because we very much want to make sure that the plan that's completed is a plan that is implemented. So just quick overview. Obviously, it's the month of March right now. We're finishing up the analysis, and then we'll go into visioning in April. May and June will be report writing and a presentation to you, and then we'll do that implementation workshop in July. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over. Yes?
Can you just go back to the timeline for one? So when should we expect you to be back at the board meeting? Like it has not been clear to me, like, do we see the draft plan and that's presented to us, and then you come back and then we approve the final plan? Are we just approving the final, like, it's unclear to me how the draft plan and the final plan.
Yeah, so every client is different, and that's up to you and Shannon. We will present, we'll take your input and make changes, and then typically after we do that and we give you the final plan, then it's just put on a board agenda under consent, unless there's more questions. But our goal after we meet with you the first time is to make whatever changes are necessary and get you a final that you can then put on an agenda and approve. So I don't know if you have other information on that, Shannon.
That's sort of what we were going for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless the board has any want to do anything further with the process, but yes, the board will get a draft plan that will be presented at a board meeting, and then with any comments that come from that, then we'll be able to finalize that plan, make it all pretty, and all the T's are dotted and I's are crossed, right? And to then, well, I did that on purpose. So from that point, then we'll have a final plan that we will present to the board and will be brought to the public. I don't think that there would be much discussion with that, other than here's a presentation of the final plan, and our next steps as staff is we would be going into implementation, starting our strategic plan process, that sort of thing, which is not involving Barry Dunn specifically. They're done after our visioning workshop and implementation. So.
Okay, and then that draft is targeted in May or June?
Yes. June likely.
June. Okay, June.
Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, and he's going to go through the results of the statistically valid survey. Ryan, are you on board?
Yeah, I'm on. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thanks for having us. ETC Institute, as you can see on the screen, is very well versed in this type of work. We do this type of survey research, support research for folks like Barry Dunn across the country, but we do a lot of statistically valid research specifically focusing on municipal government clients as well as county clients, and so we're very familiar with the topic as well as the community. I had the opportunity to work with you all at the end of 2020 into 2021 on some website redesign stuff where I was there doing some focus groups and things like that. So we're familiar with the area and the group, and we're happy to be here tonight. Next slide. So what I like to do during these meetings is give you kind of the bird's eye view from the consultant's perspective. And so I always like to kind of set up the purpose, and this is the purpose from which the consultant sees the survey results. And so I want to present through that lens, understanding that Barry Dunn and board members and staff are all going to have their own unique perspective on how the results speak to them. Now, the good thing about this particular project is that we're national leaders in administering the surveys, and Barry Dunn's really the national leader in interpreting and leveraging these results. And so you've got a really good team here, and what I want to do is generally present the results, knowing that Elsa and Nikki and the whole Barry Dunn team will take those, incorporate them, and this is kind of a singular puzzle piece in your larger engagement puzzle that you'll be putting together. But this is really to help guide your comprehensive master plan. We want to assist in establishing priorities for future investments, and we're going to gather objective feedback to develop priorities using baked-in survey design features. We'll go to our next slide. In terms of methodology, it's important to understand that in order for the survey to be statistically valid, we must randomly sample the community, and we do that by selecting a list of all residential addresses within the Park District boundaries, and then from that selecting a group at random to receive the mailed version of the survey. And then we'll continue to follow up with the community until reaching a specific goal, which would have been 400 completed surveys for this project. We were able to achieve that goal and actually exceed it by collecting 478 completed surveys from randomly selected participants. And then we look at the demographic features of that sample to ensure it reasonably matches the composition of the community. The margin of error of the results hold at about 4.5%. It's really calculated at 4.4% at the 95% level of confidence. What that means is if we were to conduct this survey using the same random sampling methodology, ensuring the demographic representation in the results, 95 out of 100 times we should receive these same results with that margin of error, that variance of about 4.5%. 5 times out of 100 we will have variances larger than that, but the results are relatively confidence-oriented, and the margin of error is relatively small for this type of project. It's really important to note the 5-page survey was mailed out, but folks could also call in or complete the survey online. We'll go to our next slide. We'll see just some of the major findings in a top-down view. What I really want to do is just give you some insights, and we'll touch on a few of these items in just another moment. But 96% of your respondents have visited a park or facility in the last year. Almost 2/3 of respondents have participated in a program. Those are both significantly above our national average of 81% and 36% respectively. So you really have an active and engaged community. Folks in the open-ended comments indicated they're very satisfied with how close these facilities and amenities are to their home. And one of the great things about your system, and one of the things that I tested back in 2020, 2021, was your communication. And you're still the most commonly used source, and you're the most preferred source of information on programs and activities. Really, your program brochure, as well as your emails and your social media are kind of those most preferred methods. If we go to our next slide, we'll introduce briefly, or just touch base quickly on our top priorities based on our priority investment ratings. This is a big question group that's within the middle of the survey where we ask respondents whether or not they have a need for a various list of programs and also amenities. The idea is to better understand where we could serve unmet needs in the community, and we'll look more at that analysis in just a few minutes. But what I really want to portray here is that there's a lot of good overlap in terms of the types of programs and amenities that can mesh together there. And so it's really good to see. I know we had a really intense dog park conversation, and off-leash dog park is one of those amenities there on that list over to the right. We'll go to our next slide here. We'll skip forward to, thank you. And what we'll be looking at now is the list of respondent selection in terms of which other organizations their household have used for recreation or sports activities. And we like to frame that up usually in the last year or 12 months. you can see that a majority of the respondents to the survey not only used your facilities or participated in your programs, but they're also dependent on you generally for sports and recreation activities. We also see community house, neighboring park districts, and private clubs towards the top there, but we really start to see a tail off as we get into private and nonprofit youth sports, all the way down to private schools or charter schools. If we go to our next slide, we'll see the rate of satisfaction, or the overall ratings of the physical condition of the parks, beaches, and recreation facilities respondents have visited. Keep in mind, 96% of the respondents who completed the survey indicated they visited one of these parks, beaches, or facilities. That's a really high number of touch points, which gives you a lot of opportunity to have a bad day, to have trash or something happen at a park where somebody might stumble upon the park and say, hey, you know, that's not a very well-maintained park, informing our perceptions. What we see here is 96% of respondents responding, only 2% of that saying the overall physical condition is poor. You would expect with so many touch points for those opportunities to grow very much higher, but what we're really seeing is a 98% to 2% breakdown of positive or at least fair results compared to that poor rating, which is actually really, really good. When we look nationally, we're about 85% positive. When we go to our next slide, we'll see the overall reasons or the barriers that present or prevent some of our households or respondents from visiting those parks, beaches, and recreation facilities more often. Keep in mind, only 4% of respondents indicated they had not visited, but really it's an interest in amenities that they'd like to use. And then what we find of higher performing or quality organizations in your area is a lack of restrooms is actually a good sign. Folks want to continue to recreate in these areas, they want to continue to be in your spaces, and those restrooms can help them be there a little bit longer. We do see a tailing off of some of these items. Fewer than 1 in 5 respondents selected any of the other items. And some of the great stuff here is that language or culture barriers isn't a particular issue. Things aren't too far from home. We're not lacking any accessibility, and so a lot of good news there. Go to our next slide, we'll see the overall ratings of the programs or events in which households have participated in. Keeping in mind, this is also a very high rate of touch. So 65% of our respondents to the survey indicated they participated in one of these programs or events. You all are hovering about 90% excellent good ratings. The overall national average is at 85%. You're double the overall participation rate. So your respondents are telling us that you're doing an extremely good job of not only providing facilities, maintaining those, but also providing high quality programs and events to the entire community. If we go to our next slide, we'll see the barriers now for program priorities, and I apologize. Actually, we're going to move into, priority investment ratings. And what we'll see on this slide is basically the level of overall general need for each of the facilities listed. And so I'm going to walk us through this particular analysis, and what we'll look at here are various programs that respondents indicated they or someone in their household had a need for. And this is a really long list of responded items. And so what we see down at the bottom are e-gaming and esports, just kind of thinking about the relative need in the community. And as we grow up towards the top of this list, we're kind of including more and more general use cases. So regardless of age or ability, a large proportion of our households could potentially have a need for a lot of those items towards the top of this list. I pointed out ice hockey for no other reason than to keep us kind of anchored in a specific item as we move through the presentation. So I don't want anybody to think that I've selected it for any other reason than just a guidepost for us. And so what we'll focus on now is 48% of respondents indicated that they or someone in their home has a need for ice hockey. A little bit higher than the national average, but expected for the area of the nation that you all are in. The next slide is predicated only on those 48% of people. So even though we see that about 30% of folks indicated that their needs are only partly or not met for ice hockey, it's only 30% of that 48%. So it's a lesser impact than maybe it looks here on the screen. Now when we look towards the bottom, we see recreation or competitive swimming teams, pickleball lessons, and leagues with really high levels of unmet need. But again, that is all proportionally based on the previous slide. So kind of a weighted scale in terms of which item had the highest level of need, and then which item had the highest levels of unmet need on top of that. The second component of this analysis in our next slide is the overall importance. So what we want to do is, is that the importance slide, Elsa, there, the which four programs?
This is reasons that prevent you. Are they in the wrong order?
Okay. Yeah, that's a program barriers question. It should have been the importance question. I apologize.
Okay,
I was looking at the...
Here we are.
There you are. Sorry about that. I probably got that out of order. So what we're looking at here is the overall importance. So the final piece of our priority investment ratings is this idea that we want to force rank now this much larger list of amenities or activities. And so what we've done is giving you the opportunity to say, hey, I have a need for each one of these items and rating how well your needs are being met, or hey, I don't have a need for some of these items. And now we're really forcing respondents to pick the 4 items that are really of most importance to their household. And again, that's weighted based on the item that received the highest level of need. And ice hockey was actually up there at almost 20%, or 1 in 5, saying it's very important. And kind of noticing the intensity at the first rate of selection is actually pretty high. When we get to our next slide here, we'll see the actual priority investment rating slides. And we'll see that ice hockey did turn out to be a higher priority. A good proportion of folks in the community indicated they or there's someone in their household had a need. Even though those needs were fairly well met, the overall importance of that item was second on that list, and so it gets a very high rating overall. What I really like to do is focus on the green items probably the most, or at least first, and I focus again on e-gaming or esports or youth or visual programming or arts programs. Those items are not programs that we should strip from the community, remove from our program brochure, or anything like that. Those are programming segments for which if we were to invest more into them, create more of them, they would likely go unfilled because the overall level of need and the unmet need in the community is relatively small compared to the other items. So as we get out of the green into the blue and up into those red items, what we're really looking at now is more and more households indicating needs and unmet needs. And as we get into the red items, we can really get the most bang for our buck, or really have the greatest impact on the largest number of households by investing in those items. And so this is, again, kind of where I like to make sure that we understand the survey is a single engagement piece and a large engagement puzzle. And while this will provide some of a roadmap or a guidepost, again, it's not the end-all be-all decision-making tool. So these are really great guides for how we could better serve our community or serve unmet needs, but it's definitely not the ultimate decision-making tool. If we go to our next slide, I think we're going to get in now to facility and maintenance priorities, or excuse me, facility and amenity priorities. And again, I've picked on indoor pickleball here. Pickleball programming was relatively high on the programming list. Indoor pickleball only has about 45% of folks that indicated they or someone in their household has a need. If we look at boat launches or skateboarding parks, it's about 34% or 21%. So even high levels of unmet need for those 2 items would unlikely have a massive impact on the analysis. When we look at the overall needs being met for various facilities and amenities, keeping in mind the percentage of respondents on our next slide who had a need for indoor pickleball, about 45%. 66% of that 45% indicated that their needs are not met, and another 18% said that their needs are only partly met. So that's a pretty good proportion of our overall population at that point. When we move to our next slide, we'll also force rank these items again, and indoor pickleball is only selected by about 10% of the population. There is a high concentration and a higher rate of selection for everything really community center and up. And again, we can see some of those other needs such as ice rinks and hockey we saw was an interest. Golf courses, I know your golf course is beautiful there and I'm sure it gets a lot of interest. But we also see things like playgrounds, multi-use hiking, off-leash dog parks up in the top of that importance list. Those items, because they're so important, will also push their way towards the top of the analysis in our next slide. And so we'll see indoor pickleball kind of in the medium priority range. We'll see a lot of items in programming in green, and that is very typical. Programming segments are often more underutilized than our facilities and amenities. We see that in our program participation versus our facility usage rates. And so we oftentimes see lower or less priorities get into some of these amenity facility items here as well. And so what we're seeing towards the bottom are things that you're likely providing a lot of. Shade trees, I know there's a good proportion of your parks and facilities that have trees. Natural turf fields, things of those nature like playgrounds where the community is likely be well served with a lot of those amenity types. As we get again into those other items, what we would best serve or really biggest bang or biggest investment on our dollar, or biggest return on that dollar would be those public beaches, multi-use hiking, biking, walking trails, indoor swimming pools, and an outdoor swimming pool. So folks are really pool oriented, and that is typically the case in most communities. Now if we go forward again, we'll see some additional findings. We asked respondents how important they believe it is for the district to provide high quality parks, recreation facilities, and programs. This is outstanding. This was not a 2-scale question. We didn't ask respondents whether or not it was very or somewhat important. There were not important response options here, but nobody in the community selected that. So out of our random selection of your park district residents, everybody believes that it's either somewhat or very important that you continue to provide high-quality parks, facilities, and programs. We go to our next slide, we'll see some of our communication items again. We'll see that the park district is really that most preferred, most used communication provider, and that's a really good sign, especially given some of the, we do a lot of park district surveys. I'm doing the Cary Park District right now. There's a lot of name recognition issue there. Folks don't know whether or not they're in or outside that district, and it's becoming very difficult to administer the survey. But as you all saw, we went way above our goal. We're seeing really high usage rates of your program brochure and your website. And among the most preferred sources of information, highlighted with those arrows, are our emails, our social media, our website, and our brochure, not selecting word of mouth, which is used by a good proportion of folks, but not dependent on or preferred. If we go to our next slide, we'll see the overall breakdown of these results where we asked respondents, how would they allocate $100? If they had $100 to allocate for various categories that were listed, how would we allocate that money? Basically what we do is create a mean based on the ratings or the allocations based on each respondent. An item that received the highest level of funding based on the average of all respondents was improving or maintaining existing parks, beaches, and recreation facilities at about 38.5%, 39%, or $30 or $40 there. It received the biggest chunk of the bucket. And what I really want to press upon you is that nationally, that is what we see almost everywhere. We see that folks are really more interested in us maintaining, upkeeping, improving what we have versus expanding program offerings, constructing new specifically, or constructing any new sports fields. We do see a little bit of a gathering of responses and improve existing indoor recreation facilities, but folks are definitely generally telling us, hey, let's maintain or improve what we've got before we go out and construct new, most likely. Go to our next slide. I think that was, yep, that is the end. So I've got a copy of the report with me. I've got the presentation. I'll do my best to answer any questions. I always tell Elsa and Nikki, if I can't, I'll get them a written response back tomorrow.
Any questions for Ryan about the survey, either the process or the results?
You mentioned,
David wants to.
sorry,
No,
you won't hear that often. You said 458 completed surveys, but how did the Zoom calls, how are they incorporated in what you're putting together? Because I was on one, there was lots of folks involved with that.
Yeah, so Ryan just reviewed survey results. That was Ryan's task. Nikki and I are going to go over the engagement next. So yeah, and I will explain that a little bit when I get started about our engagement efforts.
Cynthia.
Okay, I observed that we had, 478 surveys with a confidence of plus or minus 4.4%. In 2016, when I just look back at the similar survey that was done, we had 790. And should we feel as confident with the 485 as we did with the 790 in 2016?
Yeah, I would suggest you do. The primary reason for that is way back when we were getting those types of results, we're coming up on a lot of tenure clients, and they're saying, hey, last time we paid for 400 completed surveys and got 900, or we got 800. Basically what the margin of error does is it changes by 0.9%.
Okay.
And so when you get to about 780 or so, you're at about 3.5. And when you're at, the 478, you're at about 4.5. And so it's just barely a change. And what you'd be looking at is, 51% compared to a 50 or 49%.
Okay. And then my second question was, you also shared the non-statistically valid results, and the sample size of that was 85. And I just want to make sure, so that is not inclusive of the 478. That is a separate group of 85 that is not statistically valid. And how should we interpret the not statistically valid? Like, should we even be looking at them? Are they things that we look at when we, make some decisions later that kind of, where that input is relevant more in a qualitative sense? Like, how do we, what box do we put that in?
Yeah, I put that in the anecdotal box. And so what we want to do is make sure that everybody's got an opportunity to respond to the survey. But what we know is that these surveys take time and they're a time commitment. And so what we really understand is that if you are pushing to complete the survey, you've typically got a reason for that. And most of those reasons when it comes to park surveys are positive. When we do our community satisfaction survey, like we might for the village, that's when you get a lot of your detractors to really come out of the woodwork to complete the survey by choice. But what really happens is that unique swim groups, unique soccer groups, the special interest groups could really hijack the survey. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're separating any of those non-randomly selected respondents for that data fall. Now, I can't tell you if it was dominated by one group or another, but what we do say is that it's not typically demographically representative, which should hopefully inform you that, hey, the results are interesting. They might complement the statistically valid results, but they should unlikely be used for decision making.
Any other questions for Ryan? Yes.
Since it's going to come up later in the agenda, you highlighted the brochure and how popular it is with our community. By any chance, did you distinguish between the printed brochure and the online brochure?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I can't believe you started printing it again. In 2021 and 2020, that was the largest complaint, or, it was hardly a complaint, but it was definitely a mention, and I included it in all my reporting. I reviewed that this afternoon before this call. We did not distinguish between the two, but what I found during that research, about 4 years ago, a lot of moms preferred the flip through because they didn't have to continue to go back to a device. And so I heard that a lot. It was nice to flip through or have it be able to, like, by your bedside or somewhere like that. So I think that the folks that are programming are most likely the primary users of that. The folks that are generally using your services to recreate in your parks are most likely the casual viewers. But no, unfortunately, we did not distinguish between the two. I'm really happy to learn that you all started printing it again. So.
And I would say too, Commissioner Tyson, that when it comes to the brochure itself, we didn't distinguish that because we haven't been printing, so we can't really use that as a call to action in the survey because we're not currently doing it that way. So it wouldn't be a way that the individuals would be getting it at that point. So
makes sense. Thank you.
But I would add one thing about that. So when COVID hit and a lot of agencies stopped printing them, and the agencies that never went back, every focus group we do, we hear it. We really want that printed brochure back. And I know, it's not a sustainable decision in some districts and it's expensive, but certainly there are a high number of users in every community that really want a paper brochure that they can flip through and circle things and whatnot. So it comes up everywhere. Any other?
Yeah, I apologize, I misunderstood.
Go ahead. Ryan, you good?
Yeah, I apologize. I misunderstood. I thought it was being printed again, so I apologize for
Well,
that.
they're looking into that. Yes, they're looking into going back to that. Any other questions for Ryan before we move on? Are we good with letting Ryan go back to his night? Thank you, Ryan, for joining us. Have a good night.
Thank you all
Catch
so
up
much.
soon.
Yep, you should. Yep, bye.
Okay, so before Nikki and I get started with our review, just a couple of things. So the report that we provided to Shannon, and I know she's passed it on to you, is 52 pages. We are not covering everything tonight. The other thing is, the other thing I want to say about this is that we're very good note takers. We really almost take verbatim notes. We don't keep track in focus groups or stakeholder meetings or staff focus group who says what. We summarize with themes and ideas. But none of this is our opinion, and these are the perceptions and the opinions of the people that we either met with during engagement or we spoke to in focus groups or in stakeholder meetings. So, and Shannon and I had several conversations about this. She'd say, now, talk to me about this. Is this really what you heard, or is this your opinion? We didn't put any opinions in here. Nothing in here is a recommendation. This is all sharing with you what we learned throughout the engagement process. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Nikki.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be up here. My name is Nikki Ginger, as Elsa mentioned. So engagement obviously was very, very important to the district and to the community. And so to start it off, we wanted to make sure that this project was branded and really had a unique Winnetka feel. And so as you can see, we designed it with the district staff to create its own branding, but very much aligned with your own, and we call it Plan Winnetka Parks. We did a tremendous amount of collateral from banners and postcards, our project website, as well as at our different engagements. We had boards that were very specific to the project and reinforced your brand. We went to several different events to make sure that we were going where the people were at and a variety of individuals there. So we were at the Fall Fest, the Farmers Market, a couple times at the Farmers Market, Pumpkins in the Woods, and then we held an open house over at the Community House. Then Elsa, and as well as one of our colleagues, Danny Wilson, they went to right here to Skokie Playfield and handed out postcards to participants and their parents at ice, golf, tennis, paddle, and the athletic fields that directed them to go to our online engagement tool. So that online engagement tool, this allowed your community members to provide feedback whenever it was convenient for them. We had several different tools in this platform. We'll go into a little bit more details about that actual platform and the results from and feedback from the community in just a moment.
Okay, so some engagement results. So as many of you saw when we were either at the farmers market or at your events, we had a couple of boards where people were given some stickers and they could vote on programs and facilities that were important to them and their families. When we asked about programming, the most important program that people mentioned they'd like to see more of was free family events, which does not surprise me. You do a really good job with events. People love them and they want more of them. So that was the result for programming. When it came to facilities, the overwhelming choice was an outdoor pool. Not a surprise, followed by an indoor pool and then a dog park. We also offered people the opportunity to do some play with some play money. We gave people $4 or $5 bills and we said, how would you like the Winnetka Park District to spend your tax dollars to improve parks and recreation in your community? Top vote getter here was build a pool, followed by improve beach access and build a new rec center. At the open house, we had a little postcard where people could rank some capital improvement projects. So there were 6 projects and they were asked to rank 1 to 6, with 1 being the most important to their family, and build an outdoor pool, got the lowest score at 2.47, followed by finish the implementation of the waterfront master plan. I'm gonna pass, yep, go ahead.
Just go back to that slide for a second.
Yeah.
So the lowest score is the most favored?
Yes.
And do you have I was at that open house, and I don't remember this. I feel like I would have. Do you have how many people responded?
I do. It's on my. I can get that for you.
Get that? Okay.
Yeah, we have an Excel spreadsheet that has every event, every board, all the number of votes, and I'm happy to pass that along to Shannon. It's just an Excel sheet.
I would love that
Yeah,
detail.
it has everything. Yeah, everything. And if you recall, we gave children different color stickers from their parents so that we could kind of see what kids wanted versus what parents wanted. Obviously, parents are paying for it, and they're the ones that are, but it's still, but kids love to participate, and we like to have them participate.
More Kona ice truck.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the focus groups, the Commissioner Simeon had mentioned. So we offered focus groups. There were a total of 99 people invited, 33 participated. Now you might say, oh my gosh, that's not very many. That's actually really good. People often will want to participate, but they don't, the other things get in the way. These are really good results. We do this all over the nation. There are oftentimes we'll invite 20 people and 1 person will show. So these are actually good numbers. We had 8 focus groups that were offered. 3 of them were canceled due to no registration. So some of the themes that came out of this were, number 1 was staff. You have a fantastic staff. You're really dedicated in doing so much with so little. They provide great customer service. They maintain and operate the facilities very well. You just have some incredible facilities. We've had several comments about being the best on the North Shore. Lots of upgrades in the last 10 to 15 years. Wonderful programming, so many offerings. Brand and image is really strong. Many like the printed brochure and are very happy it's coming back. We hear a theme here. And then the e-newsletter is appreciated. Your events are really well received. They think they're phenomenal. Thinking about parks and beaches, the parks and open spaces are well maintained. I love this quote that we're very fortunate here. Marketing, and I will tell you, and we see this from the statistically valid survey, the fact that your marketing is rated as one of the strengths is really incredible. We often see where communities will say, we have no idea what's offered, what is the district? That is not the case here. Your community knows what you're offering. Kudos to the marketing team on what they're doing. That you have great information out there and it's easy to sign up for. Again, something we don't often see. Now, of course, there's always areas for improvement, and some of the themes that came out of our focus groups were an overhaul of the ice arena, that indoor or outdoor pool, permanent restrooms in heavily used parks. That again is something we often see. When we look at the parks and the beaches, there is a strong desire to get Elder Beach open. I know that's a surprise. More creativity for desired in park design, and a perception that there's frustration on the ongoing beach project has eaten up resources. And then a perception that the brand and image have been tarnished over the last year. And again, another perception that there was lack of transparency regarding the beach project. Other needed improvements were programming, needing programming options for tweens, teens, and adults. Once again, we see this across the nation. This always comes up. What can we do with our teens? How can we get the teens in? There's a gap between summer camp ending and school beginning. That's also something that we see nationally. Technology requests, improving and streamlining communication, improving the website, creating a district app. More flexibility with the beach passes so that kids can bring their non-resident friends. A new system for tennis versus the handwritten registration, and a request to increase collaboration with the community house as well as New Trier.
For the stakeholder meetings, we had 6 meetings that involved 12 community leaders, and some people were invited and didn't participate, but actually 12 community leaders is a pretty good number as well. Some of the issues that came up when we were discussing the community was the degradation of civility. That's a perception. It's also a perception that a few voices have the loudest presence and are kind of controlling the narrative. There were comments about potentially a lack of trust between the community and you as a park board. And then some other things that came up, competition between the park district and the country clubs, which we didn't really see that in the survey results, but that is a perception that there are other opportunities, so they're not using you. Lack of collaboration between governmental bodies was a concern from stakeholders, and then just a need for more trail connections to enhance biking and mindful investments, and some people making the comment that they're not interested in the biggest and the brightest, but thoughtful investment. So some other things that came up at the stakeholder meetings, the desire to strengthen existing partnerships. So people talked about the golf project and what a success it was, and how can you reflect on past successes and duplicate. There's a perception that Shannon is so inundated with many things that she can't get out and connect with other leaders. So, that's something that people think and feel. And then people want all the governmental bodies to show and model collaboration, and you certainly only play one part in that. Underserved populations, the perception is people with disabilities are underserved along with teens. Families with children, you do a lot with families with children. The perception on their end is that they just want more than you can currently provide. And then senior programming, most of the programming is geared towards youth, and is there a possibility to partner or do more for the seniors? In terms of internal engagement, we did have 4 staff focus groups. In November, we met in person. We gave them the questions in advance. Many of the strengths and opportunities that were pointed out by the public were reaffirmed by staff, and some of the items that were noted are already being addressed or will be included in the next budget cycle. And Barry Dunn did facilitate a staff retreat focusing on Culture on March 12th, which I think was really, really successful. And then our online engagement.
Okay, so talking more about the online engagement tool, we had over 1,400 visits to the online engagement portal. And again, the report details it, goes into great detail about this, and we just want to hit a couple of the highlights. We had, just like in the, yes.
Can I stop you for one
Absolutely.
question? 460 total contributions, 165 total contributors. Does that mean there's duplication?
Yes, so the
Okay.
same person. And that's why there's also, when you look at why are there 816 visitors and 1,436 site visits, that is the same person, multiple people visiting the site multiple times.
That's probably me.
And us. So just like the in-person pop-up events where you had the boxes asking how you would spend, how the community members would spend tax dollars, we had the same activity online. And in this one, we provided them with 10 different options. Rising to the top is improving beach access at $1,675 total dollars allocated from the 87 responses. And following right beneath that is building a new rec center, which isn't very much, and I'm not the best at math, but that's not too far off. It's $1,565, yes.
So this is the online survey, so
Yes.
the pool was not an option.
The pool,
It was not.
It was not,
We
okay.
chose to leave it off, this one, since we put it everywhere else. We made
Okay.
a conscious decision
Okay.
to not have the pool be the only topic here for people to choose.
I think it would be good to include all 10.
Yeah.
Because it kind of is misleading, like,
Well,
it's kind of hard to reconcile, like, the pool rated favorably when it was an option.
Where is
and then
it?
here's where it's
You
not.
just
Like,
want
couldn't
to
do it.
see them all right here.
I want to see them all 10.
Well, I put them in the report and I had to
Okay.
pick and choose what went in.
Okay, okay.
But I'm happy to give you the full list. Go ahead.
Well, I just
There's
think,
also the tabulated stuff. too.
yeah, it's in the,
yeah, no,
Super fun. I know, I'm right there with you.
and keep in mind too, that even if we put pool here, everybody who wants a pool could be telling their friends to both go here. This is kind of the icing on the cake, where the statistically valid surveys ensures that there's representation. I could tell all my friends, we want that pool, so get it on there. It's only 87 responses.
okay. So really, we should go back to the statistic. When
Always.
we do everything, we go back to that survey.
Yes.
Always.
So
Answer
here's the
just-
10. Here's the 10. Improve beach access, build a new rec center, enhance programming, increase cycling opportunities, further enhance accessibility through infrastructure updates, enhance comfort at parks, increase sustainability efforts, improve the ice arena, enhance safety through programming and design, and new programs was the last one, and new programs got 0.
And that's on
So-
page 49.
Yeah, so it's on page 49, but.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
We also asked 3 what we call form questions, just open-ended questions. And the first question was, what is the most important factor for the district to consider during the master plan process? We received 52 comments, which is pretty good. The items, the themes, and this is in no particular order, this is just themes that we recognize: preservation of parkland and natural spaces, improved beaches and open elder, more efficient summer programming, more public input, more fiscal responsibility while minimizing the tax burden, build a public pool, collaborate, don't duplicate efforts, and family-friendly programming and facilities. The second question we asked is, what is one feature you wish our parks had to improve your experience? This one generated 40 comments. Themes that were in here were, again, not in any particular order: community pool, improve ice arena, off-leash dog park away from the beach and lakefront improvements, practical and affordable beach passes for guests, more walking, biking infrastructure, natural parks, and nature-focused recreation. And then the last question that we asked is, the Park District has been around for 120 years, and things have changed a lot since 1904. What does the community of the future want to see from their Park District 10 to 20 years from now? This one only generated 17 comments, but those comments, again, in no particular order: safety, accessibility, fiscal responsibility, collaboration, maintain the simplicity and natural beauty of Winnebago's green spaces, transparency, and community engagement.
All right, so you probably don't need me to really go through these 2 slides because you probably know all the themes already from the presentation, but opening the beach, website and the registration process, facilities, maintaining current assets, upgrading existing facilities, consider new projects, whether that be a pool, a rec center, or ice arena renovations, pickleball courts, golf course, food and beverage came up several times, and then internal operations, internal and external communications, a desire to reevaluate staffing levels and service contracts, and financial transparency. And then in terms of parks, maintaining green space, accessibility, permanent restrooms, dog park, improvements to the Green Bay Trail. In terms of partnerships, so strengthening current, creating new, that's supposed to say power plant, not plan, but is there an opportunity to partner with the power plant? East-west biking and walking and biking trail. And then for programming, expand nature, programming out of school time, childcare, new program service providers and internal programming expansions, and then senior programming. So those are the themes out of all the engagement that Barry Dunn conducted. So not the survey, but what we did. And with that, I will answer any additional questions that you have.
I think you've identified the next steps and the timing.
I have,
and
oh.
This is to be continued?
Yes, so in March,
Thank
we're
you.
gonna complete the rec assessment and the cost of service study. In April, we'll do visioning with staff. That'll be a long workshop in person going through all the results. We'll create a draft plan, we'll present to you, you'll provide some feedback, we'll get you a final plan that you will approve at some point in June or July, and then there'll be a staff implementation workshop in July. Yes?
I had a question that I don't feel like has been covered at all, but in the engagement and in the survey, how much of an impact do you feel like the fact that our major gym partner, D36, had facilities offline that we usually can use like for summer camp, or, you know, like the gyms, I think, because of the construction at the elementary schools for the past couple of years have been less available for programming. Do you feel like that had an impact in terms of how people could have responded?
You know, I think most people knew. I didn't feel like it was something, I mean, people knew that, okay, that you did not have access. I mean, we heard from a lot of moms that they need something from the end of summer camp to the beginning of school. We hear that they're looking to you for childcare. I mean, there are some other comments about summer camp, but your programs are all rated really, really high.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't see that as an issue.
Okay, no, and it's been exacerbated, you know, with
Right.
school starting even later, but I think we've done a good job filling in those weeks of nothing as best we could.
Other questions? Thank you very much for your time. We'll see you in the summer.
This is great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is really good data. Okay, moving on. Yeah, this is critically important. I am grateful for the process, I'm grateful for the work, I'm grateful for everyone who
Grateful for the process, grateful for the work, grateful for everyone who participated. Thank you very much.
And we're grateful your mic is on.
Yeah, I know, sorry. I saw the signs. Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
notification.
Bye, guys.
Okay, unfinished business, item number 5, Elder Lane and Centennial Park Project Plan Update, Costa.
Christina, thank you. As it's noted in the memo in the board packet, a few things to kind of discuss here and just kind of give an update on. As directed by the park board, we did review with the village and suspend our special use permit process for both sites at this time. That item was going to be reviewed again this evening, so we'll wait for the board to respond once we complete our review here of staff and give us direction moving forward on that front. But in our continued efforts for the direction that was given by the park board and the additional scope as identified, Park District staff has been in communication with the Village of Winnetka staff in the efforts to reopen Elder Lane Park and Centennial Beach. I believe we noted at the last meeting, it's not We have received a letter of no objection basically from the IDNR in regards to our efforts to open Elder Lane Beach in regards to cleaning up the debris there, as well as removing the last 20 feet of the Elder Lane Pier. In addition to that, we've also outlined the hazards and debris that was identified at Centennial Park, along with wooden posts, piles, and some few fence posts from the original fence dating back to 2010. And once again, that was all outlined and no concerns from the IDNR's front. The Army Corps has received our application for review. They have submitted a project manager to the project. We are still waiting to hear back from that individual at this time. We're hopeful that based on our initial review and the correspondence when we received them a few weeks ago, that we should hear back shortly and be able to get some findings of facts from them, at least have either a video conference or a site meeting to review that information. So we're moving forward on those fronts as directed. Shannon and I had the opportunity to sit down with the Village of Winnetka and their team, department heads for the different facets of the project as well, to review our Elder open as well as Centennial cleanup plan. As we discussed through the process, I think they were pretty much lockstep with what we are thinking. They asked us to formally submit to them our review and application of what we're trying to accomplish. Outline the specific items that you're looking for removals of, note what those are and the capacity, if there's any improvements that are to be done at that time, and review. It was suggested that to submit that as part of a request, and then staff would review, as well as reviewing that with their coastal expert to see if there's any issues with their review from their third party, such as Baird and Associates. So on that front, we're continuing to move forward as directed by the Park Board. We will continue to move forward as we've discussed previously. The one thing that we noted down here that we've already discussed as item 1.6 on the agenda this evening was the issues at the dog park. We have some great direction here from the Park Board this evening on how to move forward with that. The one thing that kind of came up new to us and was brought to our attention was the outfall pipe at Elder Lane, the one that's located underneath the pier structure that is the, I'll say the southeast watershed for basically Winnetka Avenue to Willow Road, in that kind of quadrant, if you will. You'll notice in the packet this evening, there was a supplementary material and exhibit that was put together by staff outlining the findings from basically this weekend and Monday in regards to some of the concerns that were brought up. That being said, we want to make sure that the board knows that we have engaged with the village on this issue. We have some ideas on how to address this. Once again, the village is looking for us to put forward in writing what our request would be. We have a couple different options, and we'll be able to talk through those if the board would like this evening. But for right now, we just want to make sure that it is known that the current outfall is no longer running to the end of the pier and outfalling at that 180-foot range. Right now, the end of the pipe is about 89 feet, 90 feet from the first step of the staircase to north of the beach house to the terminus end there. Unfortunately, it looks like from the degradation of the pipe and what was viewed down there, this has been an issue for some time. Based on going back to the history of some photos that were collected previously, this might have been the same condition. It was hard to tell at that time, but maybe as late back as 2023 or maybe even prior to that. So this has definitely been an ongoing issue, something that we have identified and something that we're looking forward to get a little bit more clarification on how to address this concern and engagement. Right now, we do have the IGA team that was put together. There's another memo in the packet this evening in regards to Andy Kripe and a review from his interpretation of the IGA team and where things are headed. But we continue on that front, figuring out and formulating the best avenue forward for our project for Elder as it relates to the stormwater discharge of the 54-inch corrugated pipe and then taking into consideration the new findings that we have affirmed as of this week, how we would address those concerns, and how to move forward with the village with those concerns. I can't speak on the village on behalf, but they are aware of the issue, and they are researching and reviewing the issue with their team at this time.
So we've got the village pipe, which is the village's maintenance issue, and we've got our pier, which is our maintenance issue. They go together. This is our joint work as we go forward.
Correct.
Okay. And it is now, the IGA has retired from service. And Andy Kripe's memo sort of outlines exactly what they accomplished very briefly, and they agreed to move it to the staff level. So this is sort of your joint work now going forward. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for taking it on. In addition, the temporary opening, the permanent opening, and the permitting process. Do you need direction from the board to continue with the regular permitting process? Because we paused it for 1 month. We have spring break. We're scheduled for April 23rd, which is the Wednesday, in front of Plan Commission.
Tentatively, that is the anticipated schedule. It was going to be reviewed at this meeting, depending if the park board had a desire to continue that pause, depending on how things were moving forward with the IGA. I'm guessing based on the information to date that the park board is going to give staff direction to continue moving forward with the special use process.
The permitting process for the permanent.
Right.
Okay. I just want to do a little straw poll. Cynthia, I'm starting with you. Straw poll. Carry
Ask a
on.
question, please.
Sure.
Are we going to have the opportunity to ask questions of Costa?
Yes, absolutely yes. Yeah. Do you want to start with questions?
Yeah.
I'm going to have Cynthia ask her questions first.
Okay.
In December, there were several consultant agreements related to this project. Have those been signed at this point?
We have signed all but essentially one at this point. We have reviewed the other agreements as directed by staff in regards to the attorney reviewing and signing off with any comments or questions that he had. We've addressed that as of late, with the last one being the Spaceco BERT proposal. The elements around Red Barn Engineering have not been signed at this point due to the project, the scope, and the where it's moving forward. There are still comments and concerns that were put in part of their proposal that we have not come to agreement on. So at this point in time, we have not engaged further with that consultant, but we are moving forward with the previous contracts that were already signed and looking to fulfill those contracts at this time.
So we're waiting to get the signatures from the consultants to have the fully executed agreements for Spaceco and Lakota.
Yes.
We've signed, we're waiting for them to sign back.
Okay, so we don't have any of them signed back from them from the December meeting?
Right, so I just signed one today after it was agreed upon with both parties after review by council. So we signed today and we're getting that signature back from Spaceco. And once we have that, we'll provide that back to the board.
So if we move ahead with the plan meeting in April, will the Park District consultants be attending that meeting with staff?
So that's a separate, those are separate agreements because those agreements were based on the extra work for stormwater at Elder. The Centennial work is still a part of their original agreements.
I thought we had separate
Point of
contracts.
clarification, I apologize, Shannon.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Cynthia, I think you're alluding to that, but we did include additional services because the amount of time that was invested through the process ran as long as it did and put those terms, put us exhausted, I'll say, the time and the monies that were invested originally in the project, and then the change orders to extend their scope to allow for additional needs that we have. So some of the services, there were two proposals from the Lakota group, one which was related around the stormwater improvements, and the other one extending both Spaceco and Lakota for additional time on the proposal, or in this case, on the special use permit. So that one has been signed. And then the other one was for the additional work for the IGA review from Lakota. That one has been signed as well. As Shannon mentioned, the one through Spaceco and Burke is the one that we finally came to terms on. We were waiting to see where things were moving forward with and how fast things were going to be moving before we executed on that, and now we're able to execute on that.
Okay, so I would just ask, as those are signed, if you could just forward them out, that would be helpful, because it's really hard to keep track of what we've signed, what we haven't,
that's the
what.
plan.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, and then just on the pipe, I'm just a little bit confused because we had Matthew Wright do a peer condition assessment report. Strand reviewed the pipe, or the East Stormwater, Eastern Winnetka Stormwater Study, of which that pipe was a component. So, I'm confused that now we have new pictures saying we have big problems on one hand. On the other hand, I'm kind of like, okay, it's a pipe that's discharging stormwater into the lake that if it weren't in a pipe, it would just be running off, the edge. Eventually it's ending up in the lake. So it's not like it's flooding a building. It's not like it's flooding a street. It's not, is it really that big of a deal that it's not perfect because it's going into the lake?
I gotta stop you there. I said I wasn't gonna do this tonight, but I'm doing it. Are you suggesting that pipe is not an issue? Are you suggesting that pictures, when the water came down, that pipe is not a safety issue? It is not a health issue? We don't discharge gray water 2 feet from the base of a beach because we prefer to discharge it farther out. So that pipe is significantly deteriorated. It is a safety and health issue, period. These pictures should say that very clearly. Thank you.
But it's been an issue for the past 10 years.
Hold on. So Cynthia, hold on just 1 second. Stop. Cynthia has the floor.
Okay, so I'm just confused as to why it didn't come up in the other previous reports.
If I can respond?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So in regards to the village's review of the pipe and their engineering team, they reviewed it basically from Sheridan Road as far down as they could. They were not able to camera and go all the way out the end of the pipe through the end of the pier. So from their review, and they noted that in their review, that they basically got up to the chamber where the pipe turns, and then that's where their review stopped. It was assumed that the rest of the pipe was in good working order. In regards to Matthew Wright's review of
Costa,
the
tell
pier-
us where it turns.
I'm sorry?
Tell us where it turns.
So the
With
pipe,
yeah.
sure. So the pipe converges to 2 manholes that are probably about halfway up the bluff.
Yeah.
From there, it changes from the concrete and the brick and mortar down to 36-inch corrugated steel pipes, which then converge into a single 54-inch corrugated pipe, basically just on the north side of the Elder Lane Beach House. From there, it dips down and continues out in towards the lake at a slope plane, and then further out, maybe 80 feet or so, don't quote me on that, it drops again at a steeper plane where it then projects out and was the terminus, was the end of the concrete section of the pier.
Right. The turn that you're talking about where they scoped to the end of the turn, they scoped to the
Basically,
turn.
where the manholes were for the 2 to 36-inch pipes, as I understand it.
Perfect. So you can see those 2 manhole covers. They're immediately north of the beach house.
Right. The scope through and the determination of the remainder of the pipe was not reviewed at that time.
Got it.
As it relates to our third-party review, consultant review of the pier, it was just that. It was the pier itself.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the pipe. The water level was much higher at that time, and it was a visual
Inspection.
review of the pier at that time. Matt Wright, I believe, even in his report, suggested that if a further review was needed, then he would suggest bringing divers in to review structurally the pier from that, all sides and all angles of the pier.
Right.
We knew at that time that the end of the pier was faulty and needed to be addressed. Otherwise, there were signs of deterioration, but overall, the quality of the pier was in decent shape. So that's the review, and I think that covers the questions that you asked.
Okay, and the point where it's broken is the end of this little red spot.
Yeah, so if you were to look on there.
Look on the last page, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on the last page?
Page 411.
Yeah, this one. Yeah,
Image
perfect.
F or image G. Image G is probably a better one. That's a view of the end of the pipe looking west. where the terminus would be on the end side, or to the west of where it would meet the toe of the bluff. So that's the new spot of where the pipe is now disconnected and is separated. From there, you can see the strapping even going west of that is loose at this time, and the integrity along with the structural integrity of the corrugated pipe is in question as well because of the degradation of the pipe over the years. This pipe was installed in 1947, 1948. You know, it's nearly 80 years old. It's metal. It sees salt water from street runoff. Let's face it, it's been immersed in the water. A lot of times, a lot of oxygen moving through that. It's rusty. It's getting old. The village is now fully aware of the issue, and like as mentioned before, they're working with their consultants to see how they would like to address the issue. We have our wants and desires to relocate, but we'll have to see what they formulate as far as a response on how to address this issue.
And obviously, low water reveals all these.
The further the water goes down, the more you can see. And I'll just further kind of note in the images that are included in the packet, I don't have the exact page number, I apologize, but image G was taken on March 15th. Image H was taken on March 17th, 2 days later. If you look at the image G, you can see where the sand elevation was. Approximately, I would say 3/4 of the pipe was full of sand. If you look at image H, the one that I took on that Monday morning, the pipe was nearly empty, maybe 1/4 full of sand. So you can see just how much sand fluctuates there with the amount of water flow from the storm events that do wash through this pipe. So that's it's an evolution that's ever changing and ever fluctuating.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Any more questions?
So just so I'm clear, so on image J, so is this saying that the pipe is, good up through the end of the red spot?
The red location on the pier where it's shown is the terminus of the pipe where it is today, just as a point of reference. So when you look back to exhibit or image G, that's the end of the pipe, and that's essentially, Taylor, thank you, she's pulling it up on the screen.
Okay.
The red line is basically showing that's where the pipe is now. The integrity of that this area right here, that's going to be shown on the last image. Can I ask you to scroll down to image J? That's going to correlate to this image here. This is where the end of the pipe is to date. The integrity of the last section of pipe, I will say, is compromised and potentially a little bit further west of that based on what we're seeing. But once again, I'm not an engineer. I'm just going off of what I've seen firsthand.
So the pipe ends at the red spot, and then it has problems the whole,
there are additional concerns, as you can see in image H. If I can maybe scroll back up, I apologize.
But did the pipe previously go to the end of the pier?
Yeah.
Okay.
The pipe went all the way to the end of the concrete. Here you can see daylight in the pipe showing the degradation of the pipe lining on the walls, I shouldn't say wall, but the pipe itself. So, like I said, the Park District has the desire, and as it's part of our plan, is to redirect the storm water to the north. Our original plan had us picking that up at the park level, redirecting it through the park land, taking into consideration the tree canopy and everything else. The staff, as part of the IGA engagement, discussed another opportunity, and that was to intercept the pipe at the beach level and then redirecting it north behind the steel seawall that's being proposed for the boardwalk, and then pick that up in a manhole at the base toe of the new improvement for the breakwater, and then carrying it out through the dual 36 HDPE pipes through there. So that's how we're proposing. That comes as a great cost savings. There's no bore pit, there's no directional boring through the bluff, there's no disturbance in the bluff or the parkland. So not only is it cost savings, but it's more, it's less invasive to the site as well, and a more elegant opportunity. Currently, we are reviewing the hydraulics of that, and based on a cursory review, we feel pretty confident in our numbers, but we're going to be reviewing that further tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
And obviously, that's something we go back and forth with the village on because they've got pipe and we've got pier. Okay.
Right. Once again, we'll follow their lead. That's their infrastructure.
Correct.
The pier is ours, but the pipe is theirs.
Correct.
Like I said, we feel that we have a great design, but Once again, timing, sequencing, their ability, their wants and desires to maintain their infrastructure, that's up to them. We can only make suggestions.
And we have had conversations, open conversations with the village on this as well. And we do have a follow-up planned after they're able to talk with their engineers on what they would like to do with the potential repair efforts. Yeah, exactly what their options are. So we hope that we'll be able to get back together sometime after spring break once they have a chance to talk to their engineers.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going
One other quick comment.
Okay, sorry, sure.
David, just for your
Really waiting for a
background.
chance to ask questions.
You're next. Okay,
Okay.
hold on.
Just for your background. in
Are we
terms
going to
of-
go
so-
around?
Yes, we're going around,
I would say
yes.
questions before comments.
In terms
Questions
of,
before comments.
In terms of the bacteria testing, which is a concern with the stormwater, staff have plans in place to, when we have major storm events, do more rapid bacteria testing to reduce the chance of people swimming in something bad.
Yeah. Okay. You're finished, right?
I'm
Okay,
done.
that's okay. I'm going to go to Warren because he's chomping at the bit. Warren, please join us with any questions or comments.
Costa, you still there?
Costa took a bio break.
Here he
He'll be right
goes.
back.
Okay.
Here's Costa.
You're good.
Warren's has some
Costa,
questions.
can you pull up image F, please? Everybody's looking at image F.
You're good, Warren.
It appears from this image that there's a big missing section of pipe. Do you know where that pipe is?
I do not, Warren.
We've seen
Okay.
it.
We presented pictures, and we've seen pieces of corrugated metal in the lake bed, north and south of the pier. Is it a safe assumption that this section of pipe is disintegrated, escaped the confines of the pier, and that in fact are the pieces of pipe, the pieces of metal that we're seeing littering the lake bed?
Once again, that could be an assumption. The design of the pier, it kind of creates that cage environment.
Real
so I can't say.
Real simple question. Have you seen sections of corrugated metal pipe on the lake bed?
You know I have, Warren, and yes, we have as an agency, we have photos of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to establish that the reason why Elder is closed is because we have sections of rusty metal littering the lake bed. And we have said that we cannot, and we also have concrete and other debris, and we cannot safely reopen Elder until we remove this material.
Yeah.
We now know that the pipe is disintegrated. And we have, visual evidence the pipe is missing. We have a real strong hunch that those chunks of metals that we've seen, but we don't know where and how much has escaped the confines of the pier.
Right. Okay, so that's
My next question is,
yeah, that's okay.
My
Go
next
ahead.
question is there a way to extract the metal from inside the pier? Is there a safe method of extracting the metal from inside the pier?
I would have to engage with a contractor. Anything can be done. You can cut things up to smaller pieces. We can excavate it out. The short answer is yes. It just means the methods at this time would have to be further research.
But to get inside that pier is very challenging and very difficult, and it's dangerous once you're inside there, especially with the wave action. So what we currently, on January 16th, gave direction to remove as much of the pier as possible, because we were mobilizing a marine-based contractor to clean up the rest of the debris. Do you have any idea, can you ballpark the cost to mobilize and clear Centennial and Elder? Do you have any ballpark cost estimate to do that marine-based work?
Not as of right now. I've met with one of the four contractors. I have 2 more meetings tomorrow. I don't have a number as of right now.
Are we talking in excess of $500,000?
I hate to venture a guess at this time, Warren. I don't know if it's gonna be 50,000, I don't know if it's gonna be 250,000, I don't know if it's gonna be 100,000, I don't know.
We can update the board once we do receive those estimates.
And we plan to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think it's a safe assumption that the pipe is falling apart. It's always been part of our plan to relocate the stormwater and discharge it further lakeward. Now we know, in fact, it is discharging at the shoreline. For what it's worth, I was inside that pier, took some of those pictures, and yeah, it stinks. It smells bad coming out of that pipe. So my recommendation is that we proceed with our January 16th directive, which is to secure a permit to remove at least 80 feet of that pier. And let's optimize the marine-based work that we're already committed to. The fact is that until and unless we remove the metal, and until and unless we can be assured that there's no more source of that metal inside the pier that can escape the pier, we can't safely reopen the beach.
Yeah, I think those are exactly the issues that the staff from the village and the staff from the Park District are addressing. We're trying to figure out the scope of the problem for each of their own individual assets. So,
but to be clear, when Andy Cripe wrote his letter, kind of wrapping up the IGA negotiations, we didn't have this information.
correct.
That
This
letter
was
was written prior to discovering this information.
Correct.
It's new data that needs to be acted upon, and this board should be moving to be consistent with our January motion, remove as much of the pier as possible. Coast has given us a diagram showing where we should go, and this is what we should do. And then we should sit down and move quickly to land on a plan to reroute for the permanent solution, rerouting stormwater discharge.
Yeah, again, I'm just going to repeat, the village is going to address their asset, we're going to address our asset, we're going to stay in contact. It sounds like you guys have good, regular conversations, and so this is how it's going to unfold.
But the urgency is to reopening Elder, and the safety issue is arising from this disintegrating pipe.
Got it. Our pier's not in great shape either. Okay, any other questions, Warren?
Thanks.
No problem, okay. I'm going to move Commissioner Root.
We heard tonight from Barry Dunn, we heard from commenters, we've heard from caucus. Number one plank is get Elder open, an interim plan this season. I guess, we've spent a lot of money to date on the Elder Centennial Project, a little over 2.2 million. So, we've always had a timing problem. The village is in the middle of their East Winnetka Strand study. They're not done yet. Last I heard, Mike Waldron was saying, well, we want to reroute and we're going to take a large segment of Elder stormwater through Willow, so that the water coming out of Elder will be a large, huge storm. Again, my questions are, what do we do to have a temporary solution to get this beach open for this season? I know in some areas with piping, what they do is they put a liner in, where they have a broken segment of pipe, you can put a liner in. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know how much that would cost. But again, I understand that Commissioner James very much wants to move forward with this project. I understand that the village is not ready, and so we have a challenge here.
I think the village understands, I think the village shares the same, they also saw the caucus results, and I think they share the same focus. I think there was good engagement for the village in the IGA. I think there's good engagement with village staff. I don't want to mischaracterize, I'm not in those conversations.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah,
I would say that right now there are good conversations.
Hold on, Warren. Shannon speaking.
I would say right now that there are good conversations happening. Our conversation right now in regards to the pipe as it exists right now is that we all realize that there's a some sort of repair or maintenance issue that's needed. And how that looks on the village's end, they have to do a little bit more to figure that out because this is new information for them as well. And I think we all realize that. And I've indicated to Manager Bahan that we want to work with them and we want to make sure that they're able to make the repairs necessary to correct and repair their infrastructure. What that involves on their end is going to be up to them. We can only be responsible for the park district infrastructure, not the village's infrastructure. And as we go through that process, I've indicated to him that we want to work with the village, that we want to come up with a solution that can be safe for the community to have access to these assets as soon as possible. Now, saying that, we know that we're still waiting on a response from the Army Corps on what we are able to do with even the debris removal itself. So IDNR has said, you're fine, they've given us that in writing, so that's fine. Army Corps is the other step. We have a project manager. I know that we've reached out a couple of times, as far as what are the next steps? What can we provide? What more information do you need? And then from that point, the village has let us know, okay, well, this is a lakefront construction permit process. Tell us what you plan to do. We'll give us the information from IDNR and Army Corps. We'll put that all in a packet and we'll go through that quick little process of getting that through. But they need to have that response from Army Corps on what that next step is and what Army Corps would require for that debris removal and those types of things. So that's where we are now. I don't know from the perspective of how quickly any repairs can happen to that pipe.
Yeah.
I don't think relocation is an option this summer. And so I think as we're moving through this process, even if it's just opening the beach and not the swimming portion, if that's what we have to do as staff to meet that, then that's what we need to work towards. And it's still trying to go through those processes at the same time. And I know Commissioner James was trying to ask a question.
I know, but he's had his turn, and it's now Colleen has the floor.
No, I'm trying to correct.
Hold on, Warren, stop. Colleen has, no. Colleen has the floor. You can correct a misstatement as soon as Colleen is finished. Go ahead.
Executive Director Nuzal, I was so excited when you said even if it means just opening the beach. I think, I think simplistic, I'm not an engineer, but it would seem to me that this pier, and if the dangers here are obvious with the pipe, but can we not just block off the pier so that, I don't know, put construction fencing, it'll look great. But people
We've had that conversation too.
Yeah. I think, all this has to be permanent.
Yes.
So we're no longer in control of our own destiny. We're joining together with the village and talking through a range of options.
But listening to and reading former trustee Cripe's memo, I thought I was very impressed. It sounded like we are back as a collaborative group, village and park. Yes, no?
I think there's a good conversation.
We're working through the conversations.
Yeah.
There's still some information that is different on both ends, not information, but ways, exactly, interpretation, the best way to go about doing it may differ a little bit.
Yeah.
And the need for a specific type of permit in one situation versus another situation is still something that we're working through, but we're trying to work through it, and it's definitely an effort on our part as the park district and as staff to make sure that we meet the needs of the community.
Okay. I'm just going to go.
Just one final
Sure,
question,
sure.
real short. As to the Red Barn contract, what are the outstanding issues? What are you still trying to?
So outstanding issues or outstanding work that needs to be completed?
No, with the negotiation of the
There's
contract.
an indemnification clause in his last submittal.
Right.
That would supersede his previous contracts, which we do not agree to. And then secondly, he also put a time clause, I believe in that one, it was a May 25th date when the project was to be completed by, which we did not agree to. So we've yet to come to terms on those fronts. We're still working through that.
May I ask that if you cannot come to terms, is it your intent to secure a new coastal engineering expert?
When we get to those point, any of those conversations will come to the board in a consolidated fashion.
I'm sorry, I'll stop. May 25th, is he retiring? What is because, he's not a youngster. Is that the reason he says May 25th?
I couldn't say. I'm not sure what his motivation is.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Warren, you're being recognized for your correction or your adjustment to the comment that was earlier made.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
No problem.
Strand is the village's stormwater consultant.
Correct.
They have now delivered 2 presentations to the village. In their second presentation, they stated the Park District's proposed relocated pipe, the location and the size was appropriate. That's what they determined. That's when we were allowed, at the village, to submit our application for the elder improvements in September of 2024. So the question of the removal and relocation was already agreed to by the village. They have gone back and forth on this issue. But the permanent solution is the relocation. All we're talking about now is the temporary solution.
Correct.
So just want to clarify, the permanent solution is already, we've already applied to go through that process.
Yep. Okay. All right, I'm going to move to Commissioner Tyson. Any questions, any comments?
I had questions, they've been answered.
Excellent. Commissioner Seaman, you're last on the list. Any questions, any comments? Okay.
Lots of good discussion.
Very good discussion. I have no additional questions or comments. Do you need any additional direction from us? Do you want us to go ahead and authorize you to prepare for the Plan Commission on April 23rd?
I think that's the consensus that we've heard here
Perfect.
tonight. I'm not
Yes.
sure that needs to be a formal board action as long
No,
as we have a consensus.
I think we have consensus. Perfect.
The other
I just
thing
want to
that-
make sure. Any dissent? April
No,
23rd,
I
we're
mean,
going
yes.
for yes. Perfect.
Yes,
And
yes, I have some additional comments.
Make them brief.
And a recommendation. I recommend that Costa secure cost estimates as soon as possible for the marine base construction, with and without the removal of the pier. The mobilization of the equipment is a significant component of the cost. If we can remove 80 or 90 feet of the pier while we're already on site, it is, in my opinion,
It's
the
efficient.
safest approach and the most cost-effective approach.
Yes, it's efficient. I agree.
Staff is already working through that.
Yeah, perfect. Of course you are. You're way ahead of us. Thank you. Okay. Item 5.2, the budget adjustment for Elder Lane Beach 2020.
Costa, did you want to?
Oh, did you want to say?
One other thing,
Yes.
with the direction to get costs for that, which we are working on right now, the direction for staff to reach back to the IDNR, the Army Corps, potentially NWRD in the village as it relates to the pier length. Is there a definitive length that we want to suggest that we're cutting it back to? Do we want to say that we're going to cut it back to a reasonable length within the end of the pipe? Because, like I said, the village is researching and reviewing their interpretation of the issue, or researching the issue, and how they want to address the issue. If they come back with a recommendation that they're going to replace it as is, I don't know how that would play out with our request. If they're comfortable with our request and they review it and they move forward with our recommendation that makes things easy, but I just don't know how that's gonna pan out.
I-
So I just want clarification on the
Yeah.
length, because it was suggested before that we should optimize the length to go as far as we can.
Yeah.
But what is that terminus? How far are we going?
Yeah, here's how I think this unfolds. Number one, you have an agreement with the village with regard to how much of the pipe they're gonna remove or how much of the pipe they're gonna adjust, if they're gonna adjust any at all. Because that's gonna determine
That's gonna drive us.
that's gonna drive the length of the
Right.
protective pier,
Right.
okay? So you can apply for the maximum amount possible and just do less,
Do what's
given
recommended
whatever
based
you
on the
negotiate
action.
with the village.
Sure.
Okay, that's how I see it unfolding. Okay, perfect. 5.2? Okay.
That does require an amendment, does it not, Costa, to our current application?
The permit application, yes, but staff will do that based on the direction of the board from the original motion back from January 16th, when it was extend up to that reasonable amount to try to remove as much as possible. I'm hearing tonight, based on the review of the outfall pipe in its current condition, to try to maximize that as far as the village will allow.
Correct.
Is that a correct assumption?
Correct. Agree? David?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
Yes? Root?
Whole
Yes?
goal is to get Elder
Excellent.
open this season.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. All right. Now, we're moving on to number 5.2. May I have a motion to, this is specifically operating expenses for Elder, if we can get it open. May I have a motion to approve the transfer of $121,212 from recreation reserves to the various 1,500 beach accounts noted in Appendix A to support the operating costs for the reopening of Elder Lane Beach?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Rap is the second. Any additional discussion? I think everybody understands this. That's a roll call vote.
Hold on, I forgot about my duties.
That's okay.
Okay. Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Koda?
Yes.
That passes.
Excellent. Item number 6, Elisa Kapusinski, Winnetka Platform Tennis Club donation. We're glad we let Colin Cross go home.
Hi. As Colin had briefly mentioned in his public comment, the paddle club would like to proceed with some repairs and improvements to the facility courts a little bit faster than what our capital plan schedule is. So they would like 4 courts resurfaced in the year 2025 and a handful of screens, which are the sides of the courts, replaced. We are estimating, with their assistance, around 32 screens. This project will be going to bid due to the cost. We are hoping to bring it to the April board meeting for an award, but prior to announcing the bid, we need approval to accept their donation.
This is an incoming donation from Paddle to us for this work. Dollar amount specifics pending the bid. May I have a motion to approve the donation agreement in the amount of up to $39,600 for platform tennis court improvements?
So moved.
May I have, that's Tyson. May I have a second?
Second.
That's Rapp. And that is a roll call vote.
Any discussion?
Any additional discussion? I think we're all pretty clear. Okay. We'll take money.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Kodo?
Yes.
That passes.
Excellent. Item 6.2 is the sponsorship request, Friends of the Green Bay Trail. Shannon.
So this item is the Friends of the Green Bay Trail is planning their annual Green Bay Trail Days, and they have asked for a sponsorship of $1,000 to support their event. More information on that is in the memo and the letter that they provided to us.
Perfect. Okay.
Can I just do a planning board?
Yes.
Before we discuss this, I know that we have our conflict language in our policy, and I just wanted to say that I
along with my husband, donate $500 each year to the Green Bay Trail, and occasionally I attend some of their events.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that that does not rise to the level of conflict before we discuss this.
It does not. No. No. But thank you. May I have a motion to approve
So
the
moved.
the sponsorship request of $1,000 to the Friends of the Green Bay Trail? Second, Rapp. Motion, Tyson. Any additional discussion? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Kodo?
Yes.
That passes.
Excellent. Item 6.3, sponsorship request, Alliance for Early Childhood. Lisa?
The Alliance for Early Childhood is requesting an annual sponsorship for $2,000 as their gold sponsor level. We have been a sponsor/partner since 2014. This was not included in the budget because it was missed for 1 year, so we did not include it in the 25 budget.
Perfect. May I have a motion to approve the sponsorship request of $2,000 to the Alliance for Early Childhood for 2025 and authorize the executive director to execute a sponsorship agreement on behalf of the board?
So moved.
Root, second.
Second.
Rapp. Any additional discussion? That's a roll. Oh, sure.
Just regarding the sponsorship agreements, are you envisioning that there will be like a boilerplate sponsorship agreement similar to what we have for the independent contractors eventually? Or are you like negotiating each of these individually, or?
No, there's a template in place similar
Okay.
to what we used for the music festival
Okay.
last year.
Okay.
So it's something that we basically plug in the dollar amount and what the exchange is.
Okay.
And then, so we have a motion and a second, so we need a roll call.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Kodo?
Yes.
That passes.
Item 6.4, American Youth Soccer Organization, Region 425, Memorandum of Understanding. Elisa.
AYSO Region 425 is the local soccer affiliate. In 2024, we had a one-year agreement with them as we were working on the irrigation of Corwin. We were not able to fully assess a year's length of water usage because we just finished that project late.
Utility costs, yep.
So for 2025, we proposed just an increase of their annual 3% rate while we continue to assess water usage. They're very aware that it's a one-year agreement. Typically, it's been a 3-year, but 24 was the first 1 year. We are bringing this to the board, the 2025 one-year agreement, which includes a 3% fee increase,
Okay.
which is budgeted.
Excellent. Any questions? Yes.
Okay, so for this agreement, it looked like it was kind of a complete rewrite of the, a pretty significant revision from the prior agreements that we've had with them.
The biggest change was that we took off all the duplicate messaging that is in policy 1707 and just referred them to 1707. That way, if we ever change our affiliate policy, we don't have to revise our agreement.
I felt like reading that in the compliance with the Park District policies, that it is this responsibility of AYSO to remain informed of any updates or amendments to the policy manual and to ensure ongoing compliance with all applicable requirements. I felt like that, to me, sounded very harsh for a volunteer organization. So we only have 4 of these. It seems that, like staff who are communicating with them on a regular basis could easily advise them of a policy change, in my opinion. That seemed kind of harsh because I don't know how closely they follow our board proceedings. The other.
Can I ask a question of Anna?
Yeah.
How does notice usually work?
Sorry?
How does notice usually work? Who notifies whom? Who's responsible for obtaining that information?
I think that staff has a relationship with people who run the organization, and there's an informal relationship that it evolves. You know, I don't think that we send a certified mail when we update our
Right.
policies.
No, I just,
You know, it's collaborative.
Okay.
So the language of the contract is appropriate, I think, because ultimately they have to comply with the policies that we have. You know, they have to comply with the residency policy and whatnot. And if we decide to change it system-wide, they have to keep up. And they'll be informed if that changes or if it's being considered. I think that's part of just normal operating.
so you don't feel like it's overly harsh?
No.
Okay, because when I read it, I thought, ouch, like,
Yeah.
that, okay. The other questions that I had were, like, there was a note here about, you know, staff will be working with AYSO to ensure the criteria and requirements are in compliance. Are staff now working with all the affiliate organizations to ensure that they are in compliance? Okay, the other point that I had was just a note of confirming that the boards are all volunteer boards, so no board member should be financially benefiting from the affiliate agreement.
None of our board members or none of their board members?
None of their board members. How is the interpretation of all volunteer board?
I'm not sure what the context is, but I guess that's something that the Park District Board can decide if they want to only work with organizations that have volunteer boards, but it's not a legal requirement.
Our documents say that.
1707?
Yes, and then in the previous one, it was in the criteria and conditions, you know, AYSO shall have its own volunteer governing board with adopted written bylaws and guidelines to guide the board in policy-making decisions. So it's page 441. It says the organization and board must be comprised of volunteers with at least 51% or more Winnetka Park District residents in 17.07.
If that's what the policy says, then that's what the organization has to do to partner with us.
Okay, so you guys are confirming that with the affiliate groups at this point?
I will say that even if they're volunteers, they're entitled to be reimbursed for their expenses on behalf of the organization they're volunteering for. And so that doesn't mean they're not allowed to receive any money from the organization. It just can't be a salary.
Okay, okay. So you're checking that with all of our affiliates?
I'm not, but it's.
Okay, it's a concern. I'm just saying, it's a concern. Less so with AYSO because they're regional volunteers, and I think in their national bylaws, they have very strict language of, you know, like their national people are compensated and then their regional people are not, and I don't know how they work with their regional boards, but it is something that is a concern generally. And then lastly, for these kinds of contracts, who is considered a duly authorized officer for the Winnetka Park District? Like, who actually signs these?
Go ahead.
I was saying the board would give the authority to whoever they would like to authorize those. So that could be me, that could be the board president. That's
Okay.
why this is coming to the board, because
Okay.
that's where the authority is right now.
Okay, because we had to get, like, we haven't seen this contract. We did see it in 2024. We, you know, went through a process of, I think, extending these contracts, and then I think kind of lost sight of when they came due. I don't know how, with all the transitions, how actively they've been managed for these compliance things. But I do think it's important to be happening, and so I just wanted to clarify that, because they've all said duly authorized officer, but from my experience, we have not been duly authorizing anyone, because the contracts haven't been coming forward.
I will volunteer that once the board votes, the actual putting pen to paper is procedural, it's not substantive.
The board has not been voting for the past couple rounds, I think.
So like, once the board votes, that's the action that you're, and the approval is done. And signing is just ceremonial. And so normally we have the president or the executive director doing it
Okay.
because they're the chief administrative officer or the,
Right.
you know, chair of the board. But it's, I mean, the board action is what carries the day.
Okay. No, it's a question because we have these contracts that did not have the board action behind them, so it's, you know.
And that's what we're working towards, is
Right.
we're
Yeah.
working towards making sure that these are all in compliance. And we are working with all of the affiliates and all of our independent contractors to make sure that, that they are in compliance with what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
Now, whether or not we're able to get all of that information in one foul swoop, or there's information that might be inconsistent in regards to the type of information that they have available. So some organizations that are smaller, they might not have the required audit, right? Because they might not do an audit for their organization. So there have been those questions. Okay, well, what do we do if we don't have an audit? And I'm like, okay, well, just give me what you have. So it is working with those organizations to see what works. And I do think that our affiliate qualifications, they do need updating to make sure that they're up to times on what we would expect for that type of organization and how that continues to work. And I want to work with our affiliate organizations to be able to have that information and keep them up to speed. If they haven't been used to providing this information, asking them to provide it, or else, I mean, I don't want to tell any one organization, sorry, we're not going to give you field use. I don't want to do that at all, because these groups are serving our community, they're serving the kids, they're, you know, providing a great service to the community, and I don't want to put that undue right now pressure to do that maybe in the middle of season or something like that as we're just getting started. So it is a process that I want to work with these groups on to make sure that we are doing the best work for the community, these organizations, and everyone that uses the fields and their children participate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I would say is that 3 of the 4, you know, do file the tax forms, which I think provide a lot of
501c3 tax forms.
Those 990s.
990s.
So I just want to make sure that if we are offering affiliate status to organizations, that individuals are not experiencing a significant financial windfall as a result of that special status that we're
Understood.
giving when they should have all volunteer boards.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the American Youth Soccer Organization Region 425 Memorandum of Understanding as presented, and authorize the executive director to execute on behalf of the board?
So moved.
Root, second.
Second.
Tyson, any additional discussion? Okay. Thought your hand went up over there. Roll call vote.
Commissioner James?
Warren?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Kodo?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay, seasonal brochure printing bid, Kate.
As many of you know, the Winnetka Park District, we stopped printing the bid back during the COVID pandemic, as we talked about earlier. And while we did find that the community really embraced our online brochure, we have gotten some community members that have really kind of expressed an interest to have that back again, the printed brochure. When we did do the printed brochure, it was generally anywhere from 90 to 85 pages. And when we went digital, we did decrease it, or we did increase it to about 180 pages. Since then, though, we have really scaled that back, kind of in prep for this, and you know, really kind of knowing that this is something that we were probably going to be looking to do on the horizon. So we have decreased it down to 56 to 68 pages within the last year. We decided to go out to bid in February, and with the goal of printing the summer 2025 brochure. We requested pricing for 2 paper grade options for a 2-year commitment. Option 1 was a paper grade of 100, and the inside cover being 80. What we used to do was more of a matte, and it was, I always say it was kind of like the Restoration Hardware catalog. It was beautiful. But we have gone out to bid to still have it be a really nice quality, but a little less of what that paper grade was. So we really kind of evaluated from a cost perspective what was going to make the most sense. Since printing costs have gone up significantly since the pandemic. We had 4 RFPs come back, and based on all of this being equal, a company called CPC Printing and Promotions out of Onalaska, Wisconsin, came back with the best bid from a pricing standpoint. And really also all of the references were really, I would say, exceptional. And you know, we kind of felt that this was a good route for us to go kind of moving forward. You know, with that being said, we are looking at the whole fee, the annual fee being approximately $36,971. And, you know, mailing costs, we will be mailing it out to all of our residents. Mailing costs, it's really hard to determine, but that would be around the range of $5,300, in that range. So our request is that we go back to print and go with this company called CPC Printing and Promotions.
Okay, great. Any questions for Kate? Commissioner Tyson?
The mailing cost you just mentioned, that was annual?
Annual, yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Seaman?
Hey, was this in the budget?
It is in the budget. It was approved in the budget, yes.
Excellent.
My other personal comment is, you know, one of the least favorite things I like in life is getting something in my mailbox that I don't want. I wish I had young kids. Can you take me off the mailing list? I was a beautiful.
All right. Yeah, you know what, I do think we have, oh, sorry, Dave. I do think we have opinions like yours. And, you know, I do think it's something that, you know, we've considered all these different angles of, is it something, and we're really looking at it kind of as, you know, also another marketing piece of, you know, really kind of showing the community all the different programming, different information on the lakefront. So we're looking at it, you know, from a lot of different angles. And that's, you know, how we kind of determined to go in this direction.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Warren, because I always include him at the end.
You can
Yes,
come to me
thank you.
last.
All right, Warren, any questions regarding the printed brochure?
Just no comments.
Excellent, okay. Commissioner Rapp? Commissioner Root?
I just want to thank staff for going back to a printed brochure. I do not have a youngster at home. I have a granddaughter, and we love to flip through the printed brochure. So I want to thank you for your work.
Commissioner Rapp?
I just want to say, like, with the kids, it is a highlight to see the pictures of friends or themselves participating in programs. So I do feel like the pictures are a huge component. Although Commissioner Seaman raises a very interesting point. Is this a bulk, you know, non-addressed mailing? Or for people who are like, I don't want it, is there a way for them to submit some kind of online form so that we don't need to mail it to them? It just depends on, you know, how, is it like a bulk all resident, or is it like an individualized?
Yeah, it's a bulk mail.
It's a bulk mailing, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, we don't have that option. We're sending it to all households.
Okay.
But yeah, there's really no way to kind of
So,
differentiate it at this
I have
point.
a suggestion. If you don't want your hard copy, bring it back to the office, because there will be people who show up and want a hard copy. Just bring all the extras back, and that's a documented data point for them to consider with regard to how many to print.
I'll bring it back.
There you go. All right, may I have a motion to authorize staff to contract with CPC Printing and Promotions for the printing of our seasonal brochure for 2 years with an annual print fee of $36,970.58 per year?
So moved.
Root, second.
Second.
Rapp, any additional discussion? And that is also a roll call.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner James? And Commissioner Kodo?
Yes.
That passes.
Thank you. Beach Security Service, 2025 Elisa, item 6.6.
Since 2021, we have had security service hired to supervise the beaches in the evening. Last year, their shift was 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., and they rotated amongst all of the beaches throughout that shift. With the rising costs, we knew we were going to be hovering right around the 30,000 mark, which is what we budgeted for this year. That is our spending authority. So this year, we took security to bid. We received 2 bids, and one we are considering non-responsive since they did not complete everything as required. So our recommendation to the board is to award the bid to Selden Security, who is actually the company who we've used for the past 3 years for this summer 2025.
And what's the dollar amount?
$29,851.60.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions for Lisa? Okay. Warren, any questions? Okay. May I have a motion to award beach?
He said no questions.
Okay. May I have a motion to award beach security service for 2025 to Sullivan Security and authorize staff to execute the contract for services?
So moved.
Tyson, second.
Second.
Root. Roll call.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
And Commissioner Kodo?
Yes.
That passes.
Item 6.7, AC Nielsen Outdoor Tennis Reconstruction Projects, courts 1 through 7. Costa.
Christina, thank you. As it's shown in the packet as part of the memorandum, Park District staff, as part of the budget process last year, identified the court conditions for outdoor courts 1 through 7 in need of repair. At this point in time, because of the length of service that those courts had provided us and the numerous top coats that we've done or new asphalt layers that we've added on there, it's now the time to hit reset, if you will. The moving soils underneath and the soil conditions that we see with the cracks and so forth on the courts, we've done armor repair, we've done crack sealer repair and so forth over the years. Once again, without fixing the root of the issue, those cracks or those some of those seem like they're the Grand Canyon out there, keep growing into a point where it becomes problematic. Staff did identify the need to go out to look for our proposals. We initially went out for proposals for engineering services, so we put out an RFP for proposals for qualifications. Unfortunately, that only yielded one return, Goel Hamilton, who the Park District has a good standing relationship with. We just want to make sure that we were reaching the marketplace and giving other vendors an opportunity to bid on the work. At this point, staff did then move forward with negotiations with that sole source vendor, put together a project scope of work and scope of services, which was included in your packet. The total for that scope of services was $71,000. There are additional items that were noted in there as potential allowances as well. For if we had to do some topography of the existing conditions, basically survey work, or if the public hearing process grew greater than what we had anticipated, we put a $4,000 allowance in there. And then there's also $1,000 for reimbursables, bringing us to $78,000 in total. The project cost is anticipated to be $850,000. The scope of services for the soft cost for the engineering, which also includes construction management, is approximately 8% of that overall project cost, which is kind of in line with the industry standard, if you will, considering CM as part of that project. At this point in time, staff would like to entertain any questions that the board might have. If not, we look to your recommendation, where you have a recommendation for approval of Goel Hamilton to move forward with the not to exceed amount of $78,000 for the reconstruction project for outdoor courts 1 through 7.
Okay. All right, any questions for Costa? Nobody has questions, okay. May I have a motion to approve the proposal from DeWalt Hamilton Associates from Vernon Hills, Illinois for the AC Nielsen Outdoor Tennis Reconstruction Project, courts 1 through 7, for the not to exceed amount of $78,000?
So moved.
Root, second?
Second.
That's Tyson. Roll call vote.
Commissioner James? Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotto?
Yes.
Passes.
Item 6.8, Lloyd Beach and Steppen Family Boat Launch. Agreement for use of boat or personal watercraft storage space. Lisa.
In 2021, the fenced-in storage at Lloyd Beach was revamped, and there was a new structure created to award space in the fenced-in storage. There's 13 spots. This year, 2 spots are open due to the rotation. They were awarded via lottery for a 4-year term. And the agreement is attached in your memo, and we are looking for board approval to authorize the executive director to sign this agreement for these 2 storage spaces at Lloyd. I will answer any questions you might have.
Yes. Commissioner Seaman.
The levels that, the prices that the lottery were awarded at, is that, I assume like every cost that's going up and seems like every contract we look at, were the levels higher than you would have expected? Were they higher than what we had rolling off?
The lottery is created so everyone pays the same amount to enter the lottery. It's $100 per ticket, and they can buy up to 10.
Okay.
The winner of the lottery, their ticket amount is subtracted from their annual amount that they are due.
So to remind us, this is the lottery, then there are also ones
Bids.
that are bids. Okay, this is lottery
Sealed
only.
bids. So in 2026,
Okay.
we will have 1 4-year lottery.
Got it.
And 1 7-year bid.
Okay, thank you. I apologize.
It's okay, you've been away. Any other questions for Elisa? Okay. May I have a motion to authorize the executive director or their designee to complete and sign the agreements for use of boat or personal watercraft storage space for the 2025-2029 season, or term, excuse me, and all future agreements for use of boat or personal watercraft storage space as long as the agreement remains consistent.
So moved.
Tyson, second.
Second.
Root. Any additional discussion? Fine, that's a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner James? And Commissioner Cotto?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item number 7, the executive director's report.
All of the weekly status reports, the Kemper Sports Golf Club update, and legal expenses are attached in a packet, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Yes.
In the spirit of not emailing, I have questions about the Kemper financials.
Okay.
One, I mean, they continue to be very disparate from the golf financials that are in our reporting. I know there are reasons, but
yes,
it would be good to, I mean, they're very different. My second question for golf is, you know, we're way off on the budgeted revenues, like, and I know it's winter and the course is barely open, but is that like a spread of the budget, or were there events or activities that we expected to be doing in the winter that we're not doing? And when do we expect the golf, you know, monthlies to turn? Is that gonna happen when people start using the driving range? You know, is there a point where we should start to feel good about the financials, or is the budget going to, you know, escalate
you know, in the months.
So what I would say, so trying to catch all of the questions,
Yeah.
you know, one at a time. So as far as the differences between our reporting from the Park District and Kemper Sports reporting, the differences are generally based on the type of accrual, to where they will account for funding at a certain time when they actually are performing, and we account for it when it's received. So there's that difference there. Another inconsistency with budget as we go forward too is right now with golf lessons with Discover Golf. So that's a difference right now where they didn't have winter programming. So that's the biggest difference right there that would cause for that change.
And then just for the salaries, I know last time I couldn't ask because I was, because of the meeting date change, but is part of the difference in the salaries the fact that we have to pre-fund their salary expenditures?
I'd have to look
Okay,
more
okay, because I was
specifically
trying to
into
think
that.
about, well, what are the reasons for that? And I think that we create an account and then they draw from it, like we need to
Yeah.
advance certain.
The revenue recognition can be significant though. Like the difference in revenue
No, I
recognition.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
That's-
it's significant. It's
That's
significant.
always
That's-
that's been the chronic with them.
Yeah, no, I just,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
which one do you feel is a more accurate representation of what's going on with the business, the Kemper ones or
Ours.
ours?
The Park District.
The Park Districts,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, revenue recognition when received is always
Okay,
a higher
just-
quality.
just check.
Yeah, yeah.
And
no.
also-
Like- Yeah, and also we have the accounting of that, so that's within our accounting
Okay.
system that we have control of. So we can only get the report from Kemper, we don't have their back end or anything like that. We just get what they send us. So we can, and I know that our team works with their accounting team to make sure that everything is as it should be.
Okay.
But still, those accounting practices are different, so you're going to see those differences. But for all intents and purposes, focusing on the Park District's reporting is the most accurate.
Okay.
For our budgeting purposes. Okay. Any other
Thank you.
questions?
No, okay.
Commissioner comments. Please limit commissioner comments to 3 minutes. Warren? Warren?
Okay, can I defer?
Defer?
Can you come back to me, please?
Yes, okay. Commissioner Seaman?
Nope.
Okay. Commissioner Tyson?
Nothing to add.
Commissioner Rea?
I think that I have fit everything from my comments into the main part of the
Excellent.
meeting under the agenda items.
Okay, good. Commissioner Root?
I'd like to defer until after Warren.
Okay. Well, somebody's got to go.
Is Commissioner, I'm sorry, I stepped away. Commissioner
Yeah.
Seaman, has he had his?
Nope,
his-
no
his
comment,
side
no
of the
comment,
apple? Yes,
no
okay.
comment, no comment, no comment.
All right, I will. I just want to say, you know, here we are, spring equinox, and it's just seen today that this district has pivoted toward the positive. And I want to thank staff, particularly you, Costa, and you, Executive Director Nizal, for the work you are doing in collaborating with the village in an effort to get Elder Beach open. Again, this is what caucus wanted. We've heard it tonight from our community. And so anything that can happen, doesn't have to be pretty, just has to be a resource that's been closed for 5 years that we would, you know, the community wants to see open. And safety remains an issue. As you know, people still use this facility, closed or not. So I thought that we've made great progress. I want to thank Commissioner Rapp for working with me on a motion in January to start this process. And again, just thank you. Secondly, I thought the Barry Dunn presentation tonight was extremely positive, and I want to thank you, Executive Director Nizal, for moving forward with that. I hope that the board, as we move forward with the process, will prioritize genuine public input. where we're actively listening and responding to what the community really wants. And again, I continue to believe that with one meeting a month, it would be an excellent idea to consider the reintroduction of our standing committees, particularly as we're moving forward looking at perhaps additional capital improvement projects or expanding programs. The idea that we can bring together members of our community as well as commissioners and then staff working together. They then can do a report that they present to the board. I just think it's a wonderful idea of increasing transparency and communication and customer satisfaction. So thank you.
Thank you. Warren?
Thank you. I prepared an exhibit to go with my comments this evening. I'm wondering if somebody could put that up on the screen. One of the first things we did when I became a commissioner was to identify all Park District assets of $5,000 or greater, and to make sure that we understood the useful life and had a long-term capital plan. The list of projects in the last 20 years that have been completed by the Park District is it's very impressive. And I think that that is reflective in the survey results that we saw tonight. Like Colleen, I was thrilled to see the positive feedback that we got. There's been a lot of attention paid to the Park District of late because of Elder and Centennial. But the fact is that day in and day out, the staff does a great job serving the needs of the community through our programming and our parks. I do hope that we can get the necessary cooperation from the village so that we can complete the work at Elder and Centennial and reopen to off-leash dogs and reopen Elder Beach to swimmers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have no comment. May I have a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C21, review of closed session minutes.
So moved.
Root, second.
Second.
Rapp, roll call vote.
Commissioner James? Warren?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaman?
Yep.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotto?
Yes.
That passes.
It's 9:39. The only action we will be taking after closed is potential approval of the closed minutes. Thank you for staying with us. David Seaman has asked to be excused. He wasn't here for the meeting. We're discussing the closed minutes.
Legitimately raises a question.
legitimately raises a question, particularly when they only have 4 board members and 2 of